Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's 6 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson, and I am your friend and radio buddy, and you're listening to The Drive on this 15th day of February. We're halfway through the month, and, and they tell me that snow is on the horizon, perhaps yet again. I know. I thought we were done with all that. I mean, you look out there today, and it doesn't look like, what have I got, 66 degrees.
It's almost 70 degrees.
I know, and we're going to have snow. I mean, if you don't like the weather in Middle Tennessee, just hang around for a little while. It'll change. I mean, it really does. But we're glad that you're with us here as we hit the middle of the month, and we have lots of stuff to bring you here today. I think we'll start with something that is local. Freddie O'Connell, the new mayor. You know, when you get a new mayor into office, that seems like they always want to come up with some grandiose plan to leave their mark on the city. I mean, it's just what they do. And look, you get the job, you get the cushy job, and you're expected to do something, right? So he's gonna push for a big transportation upgrade for the city of Nashville. And today he held a press conference to say that he wants to have a transit referendum on the ballot when we all go to the ballot boxes in November. And it's a lot of ideas are being bounced around. He hasn't really solidified the plan yet. He hasn't really given us any details on exactly how it'd be financed, except to say that they are trying to have a steady source of income. So we're talking an increase in taxes somewhere. We're not exactly sure where yet, based on what he said, although there's been some talk about increasing the sales tax in Davidson County. So he wants to do something about transportation. I'm going to play a clip here, about 1:30 from his press conference this morning. One thing I would say to the mayor, with all due respect, just a side note, take a little bit of money and put a better sound system in down there. It's the worst sound system of any major city in town. But here's a little bit from that press conference this morning.
I can tell you, if we build it, people will ride. The program will give us a transit system that runs 24/7, 365, because we know that Nashvillians don't just work 9 to 5. It'll let us invest in more community transit centers that connect to each other, so people thinking about using the bus don't have to go downtown just to get to some other part of the city. This program will also help with traffic, and I don't mean that we think just having more bus service will make traffic go away. I mean, we'll start upgrading our traffic signals so they know where the traffic is. We will have a traffic management center that is dynamic and responds to actual patterns that people are moving around the city using. We need traffic signals that keep traffic moving instead of keeping us stuck at red lights when no other cars are coming the other way. This will be great for motorists, bus riders, and even pedestrians as we also improve intersections. This program is bigger than Davidson County. We know that. It impacts all of our neighbors. We're taking much more of a regional approach this time, and that includes working with our partners in surrounding cities and counties and at the state. When we don't manage our growth effectively, it affects other communities. We expect to create great new opportunities to partner with the region. We're a big city, and it's time to act like one. According to Think Tennessee, of the top 50 cities in the United States, only 4 don't have some form of dedicated funding for transportation and infrastructure. 2 of those 4 are in Tennessee, including Nashville.
All right, so there it is. And there's some about that. Some of that stuff I like because I've seen it done elsewhere, and it did have an impact. A dedicated traffic center where they control the lights in a dynamic way, that's probably, if it's set up properly, that's probably a good thing, because that really can improve the flow of traffic through a city. I love the fact that he mentions there that he understands it's not just a Davidson County issue, that it is more of a regional issue. But again, basically what he did today says, we're going to have a referendum. We'll fill you in later. Beyond giving us a few little, sort of rough ideas, it's sort of the bare bones of his aspirations at this moment. And it'll be interesting to see how it goes forward. So I'm not saying, I'm not going to poo-poo the whole plan, but I am going to say that I have some real concerns here. Because if you listen to the entire statement, and we just don't have time to play the whole thing, we got other fish to fry today. But he talks a lot about, well, we need more sidewalks. And he, okay. Sidewalks are a good thing. But when I think transportation, I don't think sidewalks. I mean, what are you going to do? Roller skate to work? I don't know what you're talking about there. Maybe we can all get a motorized skateboard and make our way down the sidewalks. I don't know. He also is talking about, probably there's probably some talk about light rail in his plan, maybe some light rail, but most, it seems he's talking about an increase of buses. This is where I begin to have a little problem, because I think buses are not necessarily the answer. Some people say, well, we'll have some dedicated bus lanes. Okay, when you say dedicated bus lanes, what you're talking about is taking away lanes for regular traffic. You're not going to have new roads built. And if you do, well, that's maybe a different situation. But if you're taking the existing roads and dedicating them to bus lanes, you're taking traffic lanes away, and I think that's the problem. I mean, the vast majority of people who come to Nashville during the day live in the suburbs. I mean, there are people who live in town and who work in town, but there is also a great number of people who live outside of town who make their way to Nashville to earn their livings. And those are the folks that I think, when we talk about a regional transportation plan, that we need to think about as well. It seems like he's thinking more community, Davidson County, with perhaps, a nod to the fact that there are people on the outside. He wants perhaps to do something. It's been talked about. It's not in his proposal today, but it may be before it's all over with, some kind of light rail that runs between the airport and downtown. All of these things are being discussed, but it's going to cost money, and it's not clear at all where the money is coming from or how much of an increase local taxes will see, if indeed they are going to have, as he says, a permanent source of funding for transportation. But we do know that in 2018, when they did the Let's Move Nashville plan, they were going to increase the sales tax, the hotel tax, the business and excise tax, the car rental tax, and they were looking to amass $5.4 billion in funding. That is my memory. And that one went down in flames. That one did not go anywhere. So let's go through this very quickly. This is from the Tennessean. Said, a transit referendum is a countywide vote on a tax raised to fund mass transit projects. Voters in Metro Nashville will have the opportunity to approve or reject a proposed tax increase to pay for specified set of transit projects shaped by city leaders. Now, even though it is a decision that will be made by Nashvillians who live in Metro Nashville, Davidson County, you need to understand that the rest of us who go to and buy and sell and purchase things inside of Nashville will also, we may not live there, but we'll have to pay for some of this as well. What will voters see? 250-word summary of the proposed tax surcharges and the proposed transit projects on their November 5th ballots. Voters will have the option to vote in favor of the surcharges or against. And they have not yet, as I mentioned, given us the details on what those tax surcharges will be. From the Tennessean again, while the details of the proposed transit project have yet to be released, O'Connell's mayoral campaign and statements following his election hint at some possibilities. Number one, a high-capacity corridor to the airport. It might be dedicated bus or it might be light rail. Bus rapid transit corridors with dedicated bus lanes and signals that give transit priority. And he mentioned today a network of neighborhood transit centers, so you don't have to come to the center city to make your way back out to some other part of Nashville. He's indicated the transit program will not be primarily focused on light rail. It can come from local option sales tax, business tax, motor vehicle tax, local car rental tax, tourist accommodation, or what they call the hotel motel occupancy tax, a residence development tax, They can put it up any way that they want to put it up for your consideration. But again, they're not giving us the details on that as yet. State law requires a time for public feedback and multiple rounds of approval. You have to have a certified public accounting firm review and approve the financing plan to make sure it's sound. The transit improvement plan and its 250-word summary will appear on the ballot. It must be approved by the Metro Council. The financing and operation of the program must be approved by the state comptroller. And then Davidson County voters will have the final say on November 5th. O'Connell's administration will engage with Metro Council members, a technical advisory committee, and a community advisory committee in the coming weeks to solicit feedback. So I tell you what, we're going to come back to this, I think, in the 5 p.m. hour, and I'm gonna open up the phone lines and say, what do you think about this? What do you think about this proposal? And what would you like to see happen? What are you against? What are you for? What are you against? We'll talk about that coming up in the 5 p.m. hour. But it has been a controversial thing in Nashville. Because every time that it is raised, it has gone down in defeat. We need to know more. I will say that there are some things that I hear that I think could really improve the situation in Nashville. But it is a rather daunting task to try to change dramatically the transportation, way that we've been doing business for some time and do something different. Different is not necessarily bad, but different can be very expensive it really depends on how much bang you get for your buck. If you're going to spend money, you want to make sure you're doing everything you can to get a transit system that is, truly effective. And I don't know, I just have this sort of bad idea about buses because I think when I look around, I see buses and I don't see many people in them. Maybe I'm just not seeing the right buses because everybody tells me the bus system is absolutely instrumental in Nashville, but I see a lot of buses moving around, not many people in them, and I'm not sure buses are the answer. I'm not sure what the answers are, but that's my at least initial take on it. Maybe you could disabuse me of that when we reopen the conversation in the 5 o'clock hour. So get ready. The last time that a transit referendum came forward, it was rejected. You ready for the numbers on this? 64 against 36 for. 64% of voters said they did not want it. So roughly, we're talking about 2/3 of the voters who cast their ballot on this rejected the measure, and only about 1/3 of those who wanted it were in favor of it. It is a heavy lift for any politician and some risk to a politician to propose such a thing because you may, end up getting a similar result. I'm going to hold my fire until I hear more about it. But my advice to the mayor of Nashville is that, Mr. O'Connell, Mayor O'Connell, if you want to do this, you need to give us some real meat on the bones and not throw this out at us at the last minute. You need to really give us some time to think about this and to make good decisions. Again, I'm not sure that the people of Nashville are going to go forward with this, given what they've done in the past. But let's leave at least an open mind on some of this stuff and see exactly, I think the most important part, how much is it really going to cost us? We need to know. Maybe we get that number first. It's 20 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Let me tell you about the folks over at Johnny Fleeman's Restaurants, Brass Lantern Legends Restaurant, celebrating 35 years in Middle Tennessee. That's right, 35 years they've been providing good food at a good price. And to celebrate their 35 years in business here, Johnny Fleeman wants me to tell you about their daily specials. On Mondays, it's chicken fingers with fries and coleslaw, only $8.99. Tuesday, featuring slow-cooked prime rib, and a side for $18.99. Wednesday, a 6-ounce sirloin and a side only $8.99. That's a good price. Hamburger steak dinner, $8.99. Sundays, they give you 3 different pasta dinners to choose from, $9.99. For over 35 years, the Brass Lantern and Legends restaurants have given you authentic, made-from-scratch, delicious recipes at affordable prices. They hope you enjoy the good food and the service. And they want you to remember their daily lunch specials, which start at $6.99. Yeah, go by for lunch. You'll be glad you did. So also, don't forget to pick up some of those delicious Johnny Fleeman products at your local grocery store. You're going to enjoy your next visit to a Brass Lantern or Legends restaurant nearest you.
An update from White House National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby on the national security threat, a drug bust here in Tennessee, and a referendum coming from Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell. Those stories 30 minutes after the hour of 3 o'clock. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, it is, well, at least you're going to play the right song.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes, it is, I can confirm. Reliable sources have double-checked my math, and it is indeed my birthday.
You got to have someone double-check that one, huh?
Yeah, I have to count on other people to tell me because you know how I am with numbers. No, it is my birthday, and the folks at the radio station, posted it up early this morning, and I mean, I've had more than 500 people wish me a happy birthday. I feel like who was that actress from back in the day who said, you like me, you really like me at the Oscars.
Sally Fields.
Sally Fields, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Yeah, that's sort of, very nice. But I really do appreciate it. People have been really lovely to me today. I spent my entire morning goofing off.
Well, that's a good birthday celebration.
I got me a cup of coffee. I put on my cushy black robe, and I set my butt down and snuggled with bulldogs this morning and just did nothing.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
Nobody had any claims on my time until it was time to come to work and get ready for the show. So, really enjoy that. But again, I appreciate the really warm comments and everything. And yes, Matt Murphy has somehow come up with a picture he's put it on Twitter of me. It's my senior picture when I was in high school, 1974. So you can do the math if you're good at math. Unlike me, if you're really good at math, you can figure this out. But I'm older than dirt, is what I am. And
It's a great picture.
Have you seen the picture?
Yeah, it's an awesome picture.
Like the bow tie.
Great, the bow tie.
Now you got to understand, this was 1974, and I was about 6'4" and weighed maybe 150, 160 pounds. I was so thin.
You look like a beanpole.
Yeah, I was definitely a beanpole. And but what you got to understand is that most everybody else had really long hair.
Oh yeah, the hippies were taking over.
Yeah, I mean, at least covering your ears.
Yeah.
Which would have really helped that picture a lot if I could have covered up those ears.
You hadn't quite grown into them
Yeah,
yet.
exactly.
But my daddy had a very strong belief that a man needed a haircut every 2 weeks. And by gosh,
Right.
I wasn't going to be a long-haired hippie. And so, it's what really killed me was that when I finally did move out of the house, I sort of was on my own about the time I was, I guess, about 18. I moved out, had an apartment, and started work in broadcasting, ironically, when I was only 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this would be my 50th year in broadcasting, and that's something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I let my hair grow out a little bit. I didn't want it to be really long and shaggy, as was, I didn't want to have a mullet. I didn't want to have, shoulder length hair or anything like that. Just enough to cover up the ears. That's all I wanted. Cover the ears, Dad, And so I remember coming in one day and, and I'd always tried to, take some pride in my appearance. And I came in and sat down one day at the house, and my dad looked over at me and said, I guess I was wrong about your hair all the time. That looks pretty good.
You're like, thanks a lot.
Like, come on, man.
There were two things that I remember my dad, changing his opinion on. One was my hair, and the other was, as long as I lived at the house there with my mom and dad, it was my job to mow the yard. And we had the worst mower you ever saw in your life. I would pull and tug and pull and tug and pull and tug. I could never get that doggone thing started. And it's not that I wasn't capable of it. It just was very stubborn to get it started. And I kept saying, Dad, you got to get me a new mower. Dad, you got to do something about this mower. Nothing wrong with that mower. Not nothing wrong with that mower. And the day I moved out, he bought a brand new riding mower.
Riding too.
Yeah, because he wasn't going to tug on that thing. I can tell you that for sure.
Luxury.
Yeah. Well, anyway, again, thank you so much. It's been a really lovely trip down memory lane, catching up with all kinds of people. And I got a lovely wake-up kiss this morning and a beautiful card from my wife. And I'm being promised. So we had the nice Valentine's dinner last night.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I came home, and, of course, I come home, it's like 50 paces.
Yeah.
And I went past, Grogu's Garden. And the grill was going, and there were some steaks on the grill.
Wow.
So, a little glass of wine, a little vino, nice Valentine's Day. And I've been told a special birthday dinner tonight. So it's like,
Dang.
wow, it's good to be me, huh?
Yes, it is.
Again, thank you so much. Lovely. Really appreciate the nice sentiments. And it's been really great. I tried to go back and like them all, everybody who left, but I got tired. There was 500 of them.
That clicking finger got wore out.
I said, no, that's it. I mean, I got about 250, and I said, okay, the rest of you, I'll just tell you on the radio. I appreciate the nice sentiment. It's now 30 minutes past the hour, 3 o'clock on Super Talk.
.30, I'm Mac Morey with your top story. 68 degrees in Nashville. Weather forecast, traffic report coming up in 5 minutes. During the White House briefing today, White House National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby addressed concerns voiced by House Intelligence Committee Chairman Mike Turner on what he called a major national security threat of Russian nuclear weapons in space. Karen Travers has the latest.
The White House is confirming that the warning from the chair of the House Intelligence Committee about a serious national security threat is related to an anti-satellite capability that Russia is developing. National Security spokesman John Kirby said this is not an active capability that has been deployed.
Though Russia's pursuit of this particular capability is troubling, there is no immediate threat to anyone's safety. We are not talking about a weapon that can be used to attack human beings or cause physical destruction here on Earth.
Crime right now in Tennessee. 19-year-old Nathan Lual was arrested last night in a stolen car, was found with a large amount of drug paraphernalia. Lual was first seen in the parked Nissan Sentra on Battle Road. He got the car during an alleged carjacking last week. Officers found marijuana, heroin, suspected cocaine, pills, digital scales in a key fob programmer, along with 7 key fobs in the vehicle. He's now in jail on a $231,000 bond. Right now, you're here in Nashville. Mayor Freddie O'Connell says he will pursue funding for a new transportation plan through a voter referendum in November. He said it'll be the largest investment in Nashville's transportation in 6 years.
This is, in many ways, our last best chance to take a huge step forward as a city together. This will be up to all of us.
In addition, Mayor O'Connell said the city will not seek a property tax rate increase for the fiscal year 2025. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
King Associates Insurance in Brentwood. Boy, what a great company they are. They've been an independent agency in that area for 25 years. I mean, first of all, that's an accomplishment. But here's what I want to tell you. You need an independent agent. But you know why? Because they don't have to pick just one policy. They sell through a whole different, whole range of policies from different companies. They can shop around. So, you get on the phone, you tell them what you're looking for, and they can go and shop and shop and shop and shop till they bring you several suggestions, and then you make a decision. And the idea is you can find a policy that really, truly meets your needs rather than, just taking a square peg and trying to shove it into a round hole like the big insurance companies do. And the other thing that's great is you're going to get personal service. They care about you. When you call this number, 615-329-8121, you don't reach a call center. You don't sit there and listen to a recording that says, please stand by, your call is important to us. No, you get an actual human being who will answer your questions and help you find the answer that you're looking for. That's what it's all about. Listen, they are the kings of the multi-policy discount. 20, 25, 30, 35%. Huge savings are possible. So what you need to do is get your royal review today with King & Associates Insurance. Log on to tkinginsurance.com. King Insurance and Associates, royal treatment and great rates. It is 38 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson. In Atlanta today, Fannie Willis is on the stand. And I mean to tell you, it's been feisty. She's upset that she's been called in to talk about her romantic relationship with Nathan Wade, which began in 2019, 3 years prior to when Willis and Wade said they started seeing each other. Is apparently what we're hearing from some testimony. And she's been asked some pretty tough questions about the nature of her relationship and did she receive any benefit? And she's been very finally. Let's just take a chance and dip in here for a moment.
You would want to cover on this reserved for the record, and then we'll move on to the next topic. Okay. Since I had laid out before that the forensic misconduct isn't a subject.
So do I not get an answer for that?
That's right.
Okay. Did you read your speech?
Well, no, Mr. Sadoff, for everything related to any forensic.
Oh, you just want me to stay out of it now?
We're just not. We can do it in a bullet form if you just want to cover what you would have asked, but it's not in a question and answer format.
Okay, so I should do that at this point, or do it?
Sure.
Well, a moment ago she was saying that she wanted to understand that I don't need a man. To me, a man is a companion. I don't need a man to take care of me. The only man that ever took care of me was my daddy. And it's been that kind of testimony today as she talked about the nature of her relationship with this prosecutor who got, a lot of money to prosecute Donald Trump. Here's a little bit of what went on earlier. I captured this. I mean, it's been a very interesting testimony. Here is Fannie Willis earlier today talking about personal relationships.
So if you ask about a personal relationship, I consider myself to have a personal relationship right now, Mr. Wade. I consider myself to have a personal relationship with Anna Cross. I consider myself to have a personal relationship with Mr. Abadi. I consider myself to have a personal relationship with Andrew Evans.
Okay, let me just clarify that.
I have a personal relationship with him as we speak right now. I don't think that's what you're asking. I think that's what you're asking.
When did your romantic relationship with Mr. Wade end? Did it end?
Me and Mr. Wade, we are good friends. My respect for him has grown over these 7 weeks of attacks. We are very good friends. I think, but for these attacks, it would have been a friendship that, as life goes, he would have stopped having. I think that you have cemented that we'll be friends till the day we die.
Let's.
Could we just have an answer to the question?
I can handle Mr. Sadoff. Let's have it.
She asked about a personal relationship.
She asked when the romantic relationship ended. That's the question.
It's sometime in, I'd say late summer of 2023. So I don't believe me and, this is what you're really asking about. This is the salaciousness of all of this, right?
No, I'm just asking about your romantic relationship, when you stopped dating.
I think that me and Mr. Wade, so he's a man, he probably would say June or July. I would say we had a tough conversation in August.
It's been that kind of thing all day long. She's been pulling teeth to get any information out of her. Let me just read a couple of things here that I think it sort of sum it up. From thehill.com, a longtime friend of Fulton County GA District Attorney Fannie Willis testified Thursday that Willis began a romantic relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade in 2019, 3 years prior to when Willis and Wade said they started seeing each other. Robin Yearty, a college friend of Willis's, said the prosecutor's relationship began shortly after a municipal court conference in October of 2019 and remained constant until she stopped speaking with Willis in 2022. You have no doubt that their romantic relationship was in effect from 2019 until the last time you spoke with her? No doubt. Yearty testified she last spoke with Willis in March of 2022 after leaving the Fulton County District Attorney's office due to a, quote, situation in which she was told she could resign or be fired. The incident ended her friendship with Willis. The testimony is in direct conflict with what Willis and Wade represented in court filings. Wade said in a sworn affidavit that their relationship began in 2022. Yearty's account suggests Willis and Wade began seeing each other romantically before Willis hired Wade to investigate Trump. Defense attorneys say that Fulton County District Attorney has benefited from Wade's employment. Willis and Wade have since vacationed in Aruba and Belize. took 2 cruises to the Bahamas, which Wade paid for, defense attorney said in court filings. The district attorney's office has strongly refuted those allegations, indicating the pair divided their personal travel expenses rather evenly and did not share finances. To be absolutely clear, their personal relationship between Special Prosecutor and District Attorney Willis has never involved direct or indirect financial benefit to District Attorney Willis, prosecutors wrote in a filing earlier this month. What they did say is that she says that she gave him the money back. In other words, he might have booked it, but she paid him back.
And I think that when you say things that way, I want this record to be abundantly clear that he calls his travel agent, he calls his cruise agent. They do whatever he tells them. He's like on a first name basis with these people. They do it, and then he tells me how much it is, and I give him the money back. I don't, just like you're asking me about the money with Robin, I don't do my friends like that. So if you tell me it's a G, then you're going to get $1,000. Whatever it is, I didn't ever make him produce receipts to me. Whatever he told me it was, I gave him his money back.
All right, so now I guess the question will be, where's the evidence that you gave the money back? And if they can find that, then that sort of gets them out of it. If they can't find it, then I think there's still an open question. We got more trials than you can shake a stick at going on right now. A New York judge has set March 25th as a trial for the Trump so-called, I don't like the terminology, hush money case. The former president showed up for a trial today. So this is going to happen right in the middle of the Republican primary. But I think it will be after Donald Trump clinches the nomination. I mean, by most counts, Donald Trump is on track to clinch the nomination on Super Tuesday, which is March 5th. And so if that is indeed the case, he will already have secured the nomination by the time this trial begins. But he's very upset about this, and he says, look, we got the district attorney here. He's coming after me at a time when he really should be focused on the crime in the community.
And they're doing things that nobody's ever seen before. So you have violent migrant crime, and they're after me for doing nothing wrong. I paid almost $300 million in taxes over the period of time. $300 million. And they say, oh, let's get Trump out. You have people that everything is politics in this city, including decisions and judges and everything else. It has to straighten out, and they have to focus on violent crime, not made-up crime. Thank you very much. We'll see you later.
And so with that, he was off, and he's going to try to make an appearance at as many of these trials as he can. To be honest with you, there's no downside to it. It would appear, because I think most people who support Donald Trump have come to the conclusion. I mean, if you don't like Donald Trump, you're going to believe what you believe anyway, right? But I think most people who support Donald Trump, and I would say that there are, a vast majority of Republicans are now supporting Donald Trump, according to the polls, and more than a fair number of independents are supporting him. And it doesn't seem that that they care one whit about these trials. In fact, a case could be made that every time they bring some kind of legal case against Donald Trump, the general census is it's unfair. It's apparently aimed. There's politics behind it, and they just don't think it matters. They just don't care. In fact, his ratings his numbers go up after another case is filed. So I don't know that that's going to work out for them. It looks almost as if, I think Trump has a pretty good case. This is election interference. These aren't legitimate trials. In this particular case, they had apparently at one point decided not to bring the case, and Trump says he's done nothing wrong, and I think there's a good legal case to be made that he didn't do anything wrong, but one way or the other, all of a sudden it's being brought. The Democrats are doing everything they can to stop this guy, and the most important thing that I think is lost on most people is there is now considerable evidence that the White House was actively involved in meeting with the people who are bringing cases against Donald Trump. There were several meetings, according to some reporting that's been out there in the last day or two. There were several meetings at the White House of people who were bringing these cases. that tends to suggest that there are political motives behind these cases, that they might not other be brought. And then there's the dual standard question, which I think is irritating everybody. On one hand, we have a special prosecutor who says that Joe Biden violated the law with regard to classified documents, and yet no charges are going to be brought. Why? Well, he's an old, doddering man, and, it would take a while to get him to trial, and he would present as a man who'd had memory issues and all of that, so they're not bringing any case. They never. By the way, Democrats are saying he was vindicated by this report. He was not vindicated by this report. The report said there was all kinds of evidence that he violated the law. It's just that they didn't think they could get a conviction, and you know what? In D.C., in the District of Columbia, that's probably true. They probably couldn't get a conviction with a jury out of D.C. So, there's all that. But on the other hand, the other side of the equation, they have a case pending against Donald Trump for essentially the same thing. I think Americans look at it and say, fundamentally, it's just not fair. There is a double standard at play here, and if your name is Trump, then they're going to come after you. If you have an R behind your name, they're going to come after you. If you have a D behind your name, you're going to skate. And I think Americans are fed up with it. I think they can clearly see that's what's going on. So again, I don't think that all of these trials, there are a lot of them. It's hard to keep up with. You need a dance court to keep up all the different trials going on. But I don't think any of these trials are going to have any real impact on whether or not Donald Trump can secure the nomination and become president of the United States yet again. It just doesn't seem to matter to voters, and maybe that's as it should be, given the fact that it does appear to be politically motivated in each and every case. 50 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Have you noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when someone tells you, hey, that thing you want me to pick up, it'll be ready at 3. I'm ready at 4. And you find out, well, it's not. People are really tired of that kind of stuff. And if you've had it with unreliable vehicle repair shops, then you need to check out the folks over at Eurofix. Eurofix has a way of turning unreliable into reliable. And Eurofix has your vehicle ready when it's really supposed to be ready, so you're not standing around waiting. Eurofix repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer without dealer pricing. Now, that's because dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of a dealership's overhead, and that is a ton of money. Why would you want to pay for all of that? At Eurofix, reliable means a 3-year nationwide warranty plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. Make sure you call ahead, as loaner cars are very popular. If you're tired of unreliable repair shops, come to where it is reliable. Talking about Eurofix, family-owned for 24 years. Call 844-EUROFIX. Learn more at myEurofix.com.
The Biden administration still pleading for more aid to go out to Ukraine. We've got a missing sheriff's deputy in Meigs County, still on the lookout for him. An update on the Kansas City shooting that happened right after the Chiefs parade. We got a new bar coming to Broadway. We'll tell you whose it is. 4 o'clock Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right. Thank you very much, Mac Morey. He's in the newsroom with all the stories. And there is Chris Weber, who's got all the blinky buttons covered there, making sure that everything's going well. I am Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, and it is the 15th day of February. And let's see what we got going on here. Look at the markets right now. Pretty strong day on the Dow, up 348 points. So it's been down at times this past week in an ugly way, making up some ground there. The S&P 500 is up 29. The NASDAQ is up 47. So all screens are green. What's driving the markets? What's in the economic news today? Let's check in with John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management to find out more. Good afternoon, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, green day in the market, and that's in stark contrast from Tuesday's sell-off with the inflation report that was a lot hotter than expected. In fact, the S&P closed at a new record today. So a couple things have happened that have calmed the market down. The Fed has really downplayed that inflation report. Several of those Fed officials have come out and said that. And then today, we actually got a retail sales number that declined a lot steeper than what the anticipation was. That was estimated to drop 0.3. It actually dropped 0.8. And so that's going to play into the Fed's decision on rate cuts. Is the consumer slowing down a little bit in terms of their spending? Tomorrow, producer price index, another inflation report the Fed's going to be watching closely. So an important report to watch.
All right. Thank you very much, John. Find out about all the things that John and the good people over at Beacon Capital Management can do to help you prepare for your retirement. Just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. What's the latest on the Russian space nukes? That's what it's being called now. We'll give you the very latest. We got a bit more details on it today. It's all straight ahead on the drive in the next hour.
.401, I'm Mac Morey with your top story. 67 degrees, gorgeous in Nashville. Traffic, complete weather forecast coming up in 5 minutes. The Biden administration telling Congress that the situation is now desperate in Ukraine and that Russia could overrun that nation without immediate help from the U.S. Andy Field has the latest.
For months, the White House has pleaded with Congress to pass additional Ukraine funding, and now saying Russia's making progress in winning that war.
They're beginning to overwhelm Ukrainian defenses. The cost of inaction by the Congress is stark, and it's being borne on the shoulders of Ukrainian soldiers.
National Security spokesman John Kirby saying that everyday Congress delays is costing Ukrainian lives and threatening other European allies.
Right now in East Tennessee, a Meigs County Sheriff Office deputy, Robert R.J. Leonard, is still missing after arresting a woman last night. Right now, it's believed that Leonard took a woman into custody around 6 o'clock before crashing his car near the Blythe Ferry boat ramp. His vehicle was found in the water, but his body was not inside of the car. The body of what officials assumed to be the arrestee was found inside the car. The last word dispatch says they heard from the deputy was water. The driver's side window was found open. Leonard had joined the Meigs County Sheriff's Office in December and was from New York. Got some new details coming out about the mass shooting in Kansas City at the end of the Chiefs' victory rally yesterday. A radio DJ was killed and nearly 24 other people were injured. Here's Alex Stone.
Kansas City police say they have now determined it was not an orchestrated attack on the Chiefs' victory rally, but several people got into an argument and then shots were fired. Innocent bystanders were hit. 8 who were shot went to University Health Kansas City. Trauma surgeon Dr. Dustin Neal on the first victim to arrive.
Got him straight up to the operating room and were able to stabilize him. He has improved overnight despite his life-threatening injury.
And of the 8 that were wounded by gunshots, 5 of those were dismissed from the emergency department yesterday. 3 individuals remain in the hospital. 1 is in stable condition. The other 2 in critical condition, remaining in the ICU, but both are improving. And back here in Nashville, got a new bar coming to Broadway. Country star Morgan Wallen announced today that he will be opening his own honky tonk. It'll be called This Bar in Tennessee Kitchen on 4th Avenue. It'll be on Lower Broad. It'll be a 6-story bar, about 30,000 square feet. It'll feature 3 live music stages, 6 bars, and an open-air rooftop. It opens this summer, and it'll also feature a Morgan Wallen gift shop. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is 4 minutes now past the 8 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, and this is The Drive for the 15th day of February. That's right. It's going to be that day all day long. We're so glad that you're with us here for The Drive, where we're going to cover news from around the world, across the nation, up your street, and right up your alley. I mean, literally, we've got it all today, especially the stuff about your alley. Clean it up. Nobody has alleys here, though. That's the problem. Do you have alleys where you grew up?
Me? I grew up in the middle of nowhere. I had cows.
We had alleys, and we took our trash to the alley. But they don't have them in other places. I don't know why they even talk about alleys anymore. If you've got an alley in Nashville, give me a call. Let me know. No, I don't know. I don't care. Let's talk about Russian space nukes. That's what I really care about. And I'm having problems with my equipment. But let me start with this. We have a situation here with a thing that came out yesterday on Capitol Hill. The chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Turner, he came out and said, there's a serious national security threat. And we need to do something about it, and we need to make this information public so the public can know what's going on. And boy, I mean, it sent off alarm bells like, what in the world are you talking about? Because when the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, who has access to, all the intelligence, says something like that, it makes everybody wonder what it is. And by the time we got on the air yesterday, we had sort of narrowed it down to 2 or 3 different topics. Number one, it had something to do with Russia, it had something to do with nukes, and it had something to do with space. And we got a little bit more information today from John Kirby over at the White House. He said basically it's a system that the Russians are trying to put into position that would allow them to use high technology to knock out satellites, but it would be space-based. And he shied away from talking about the nuclear element of it, but others have not. Here is John Kirby. This is about 3 minutes. So this is what the White House is willing to say about this particular item.
Can you address whether the United States has the capability to defend against the Russian anti-satellite system that they're developing?
I would tell you that, it's still a capability they're developing. We are still analyzing the information that's available to that. I would not speak definitively about our strategic deterrent capabilities one way or the other. We don't talk about that publicly. But we're taking this potential threat very, very seriously, and we are examining what the best next steps are and what our options might be. I want to reiterate, it is not an active capability, and it has not yet been deployed.
Thank you, Admiral. When was the President first informed of this threat, and what's been his level of interest or concern?
I don't have a specific date on the calendar. He has been kept informed throughout, and our general knowledge of Russian pursuit of this kind of capability goes back many, many months, if not a few years. But only in recent weeks now has the intelligence community been able to assess with a higher sense of confidence exactly how Russia continues to pursue it. And so the president has been briefed on this developing capability really from the outset and has been kept informed throughout. And as I said, today, including today, from his national security team.
There's a term that's been tossed around in the last 24 hours or so I want to seek some clarity from you. Is it a nuclear weapon, a nuclear-powered weapon, or a nuclear-capable weapon?
I'm not going to be able to go into any more detail than I did in my opening statement. It is an anti-satellite capability that they're developing, and beyond that, I will not go. We have been very careful and deliberate about what we decide to declassify, downgrade, and share with the public. And there's a process, Jackie. It starts with an analysis of whether information can be downgraded safely without violating sources and methods, without putting it in jeopardy, our ability to continue to collect information and intelligence. Then, usually, there is an engagement strategy that goes along with that, where you talk to allies and partners, maybe the country in question, certainly members of Congress. You do that through intense internal diplomacy. And then, and only then, when that's complete, you work with the intelligence community on specific language to downgrade. What I would tell you in this case, we had already begun that process. The process of analyzing it, of making sure we weren't violating sources and methods, informing members of Congress. The president directed the team to start to inform allies and partners, including, not that Russia's an ally and partner, but to include diplomatic engagement with Russia on this. And then we would eventually get to a point where we would downgrade and declassify. So we were already on the sort of the arc of that process when yesterday this information regrettably found its way into the public domain in advance of our ability to do this according to process.
All right, so that's as much as he's able to say. Others have gleaned a little bit more from sources who are not identified. If you're going to get any information of it, you're not going to get a name attached to it. That's just the way it goes. I mean, the way these conversations take place is, they'll say, have you seen that report? Yes, I've seen that report. Would you say that report is accurate? I can neither confirm. I cannot confirm that story is accurate. Will you deny that it is accurate? So confirm or deny, and they'll say I cannot deny. I can neither confirm or deny. So you've got all that information in there, and people start put together a little bit of stuff on it. So here's what ABC News is reporting. President Joe Biden's national security advisor and leading lawmakers on Capitol Hill sought to allay public concerns on Wednesday. This happened yesterday, as to a national security threat related to a destabilizing foreign military capability, so serious that Biden should declassify all information about it. Sources tell ABC News that the intelligence has to do with Russia wanting to put nuclear weapons into space. Now that sounds very frightening, but apparently the nukes would not be aimed at people on Earth, but would be used to possibly take out satellites that the military and our government depend on in order to conduct business. Now, that is, if you choose to pull that trigger and take out satellites, there's a lot of things that can happen. First of all, that nice little GPS system that you count on to get to work every day and tell you how long it's going to take to get from point A to point B, that comes to you from satellites, right? You don't. If you start taking out satellites, that could be gone. That was initially a military thing, and then it was opened up for civilian use. So there's that. Telephone communications, satellite communications that we use here in this country. To send audio, phone calls, video. The television networks would not be able to rely on satellites to transmit information. It gets to be really serious, but not only that, when you start destroying satellites in orbit, the debris field starts to take out other satellites and other satellites and and by the way, we have astronauts in orbit, and they would be at risk. So it's very concerning. And there have been some tests of anti-satellite technology. The Chinese have at times conducted those tests. I think the Russians have. And it's been a disaster every time they've done it. They've tested the systems in low Earth orbit, and it has just cluttered up low Earth orbit with a lot of debris that causes problems. And we track it all. But we try to get people out of the way, and we try to move satellites out of the way when they need to be moved out of the way. But I'm telling you, it's like trying to run through a minefield when your satellites are in orbit up there, because of all the stuff that is already up there. And eventually, over time, when you do that, it falls out of the atmosphere and burns up on the way. So it's never really a threat once that's out of the way. But you can really mess things up for a while. And you would probably think that this would be an EMP kind of device. A device, for example, that the X-rays that would be emitted from a nuclear blast near a critical satellite would then take out that satellite. It wouldn't necessarily destroy it physically. It would render it useless, because the EMP waves, the X-rays, the pulse that comes with it, can take out technology. And so that's what we're concerned about. Now, the good news is it's not been deployed yet. The bad news is they're making progress on it, and they certainly have the aspiration to deploy such a system. So when we say there is nothing imminent, yeah, that's true. But, we need to sort of figure out what's going on. And maybe we need to develop our own technology to counter that. And are we ahead of the curve, behind the curve on that? Do we have things in our arsenal that could help us out in that regard? They're not going to tell us. But one way or the other, it is significant. But I don't want anybody to think that, well, what the Russians are trying to do, because this was some of the speculation yesterday, is put nuclear weapons in orbit above let's say, the North American continent. And you can put it in what they call geostationary orbit. And that would mean that if they launched from there, there would be no little time. If it was aimed at Earth, it would not be much time for you to react, and that would be a real change. So it's not them trying to add another leg to their nuclear capabilities to turn it in from a stool to a chair with 4 legs instead of 3. What we have now is apparently an attempt basically for the Russians to come up with something that could destroy military and government satellites of its adversaries. That's what it seems to be. So we'll continue to watch that as more information comes out. Again, nothing imminent, but it is concerning. And the Russians say, you don't know what you're talking about. No, we Russians, we would never do anything like that. Sure, they're denying. But it's only been recently, according to John Kirby, that we have been able to have some confidence about the fact that we knew exactly what the Russians were doing. And the reason they don't want to talk about it more is because they don't want to risk the sources and methods that were used to gain that intelligence. 20 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. United Structural Systems, man, I'm telling you what, that is a company that can help you out if you've got problems with foundation issues or structural issues around your house. The bricks that are cracking and the windows that don't open and the doors that stick. If you've got those problems, give them a call. If you've got water issues, give them a call as well. They're the folks that will come out and take care of you right away. The problem is that, a lot of people don't want to do that because they're afraid of what they're going to find out. You may find out that it's a big thing that needs to be fixed or a small thing that will become bigger, or it might be nothing at all. What you need is real information, and they can provide it. 25,000 satisfied residential customers. They'll come out, they'll assess it, they'll give you their best advice. You don't pay a penny until the job is done and you are completely satisfied. And there are a lot of satisfied customers. Constance said, it was an excellent experience. Put me at ease during the whole process. And Jeffrey said, the service was A+++. At USS, they guarantee their best. Call them, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, Northern Alabama, online at USSTN.com, or call this number, 615-488-7855.
An FBI informant charged in relation to Hunter Biden, a hotel fire in Tennessee, and some money news. Those stories, 30 minutes after the hour of 4 o'clock, right here, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, I'm very sorry. Apparently, I've been giving you bad information. Chris, that whole segment that we just did about what the Russians were trying to do. I mean, do we need to take it all back? Because apparently, I have this all wrong. I have it all wrong, according to one of our super texter who just called in with or texted in with their sense of what's going on.
Yeah.
So, could you share with me exactly? Apparently, I'm being told that I don't know what I'm talking about.
Right. Satellites are not real.
Oh, really?
That's the gist of it. Yes, we've never been to space.
We've never been to space.
It's made in the Hollywood basement.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What else? Mars is Devon Island. I'm not sure what that is. I'm not familiar with that.
It's all underwater cables.
Yeah,
apparently.
underwater cables, not satellites. Yeah. Also, when you're looking at the full moon, you never see something going in front of it, like a satellite.
Well, actually, that's not true. I have seen pictures of the International Space Station passing in front of the moon.
Fabricated.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
CGI images and photoshopped crap. That's what NASA gives us.
Really?
Yeah.
How in the world did I get this wrong all these years?
I don't know. I guess you just don't have the real information, I guess.
I don't know. Maybe I need to reconsider my sources of information because I all this time I thought we actually did go to the moon. I do believe that. I believe that. I believe that we launch satellites on a regular basis.
Hollywood.
I mean, well, how does GPS work if not by satellite?
I guess it's those underwater cables.
Underwater cables. I'm not near underwater cables though. What I mean, are they underwater in the Cumberland River? Is that where they are?
Maybe. I don't know.
Wow. Well, I don't know. Maybe I should just hang it up for the day because I'm my whole world has just been rocked.
Learn something new every day.
I learn something new every day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, I've got a whole show laid out here that's based on news and information that I've gathered, but I mean, now I'm beginning to question whether any of it is real. I mean, if there are no satellites, well, and apparently on Chris Ann's show, they have a theory that there are no birds. Birds aren't real.
Birds aren't real. Still fact checking.
What you do that show. You help Chris with that show in the morning. And what's the thing about birds?
Yeah, birds are all just from different government agencies. They're just watching you, man.
They're just cameras.
Yep.
Really?
It's pretty crazy, man.
Why do they poop then? Because they poop all over everything I've got.
That pigeon I shot with a BB gun when I was 12 sure didn't look like a camera to me, man. When it fell off the roof of the house, it had a lot of blood coming out of it.
Oh, man, I don't know. Well, again, my world is rocked. I've gone through life, certain about certain things, and one of them was that satellites were not fake, that they were real. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead with this stuff, but I may have to revise it as we go along because, again, my whole world has been rocked here today. In fact, now I don't even have time to get into the next thing I want to talk about. How about if we do this? How about if we just we skip ahead? We do the news. We get the news out of the way, and maybe by the time, that we come back from the news, I will have been able to determine what in my show is real and what is not real.
Are we real?
I'm very real.
Question.
I mean, if you pinch me, I can feel it. I mean, I know I'm real, and I know that somehow my voice gets from bucolic Watertown all the way downtown and then out over the radio. I know that works because people are hearing me. Even this guy who says that satellites aren't real.
Maybe that guy's not real.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Maybe you think he's pulling our leg, or do you think he's serious?
I think he's serious.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's do the news, and I have to rethink my whole day now.
Your whole life, man.
That's right. I mean, I'm not sure that anything that I believed is true anymore. It's time for the news at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7.
4:30, I'm Mac Maury with your top story. 65 degrees. Been a mostly sunny day today on Music Row. You got a forecast traffic report just ahead in 5 minutes. A federal grand jury in L.A. has charged an FBI informant involving derogatory information against President Biden and his son, Hunter. Alex Stone reports from L.A.
A federal grand jury here in L.A. deciding to charge 43-year-old Alexander Smirnov, an FBI informant who allegedly lied to the FBI, claiming to have information about Hunter Biden's dealings with Ukrainian firm Burisma. Prosecutors say he lied about conversations claiming that Hunter Biden was hired to protect the firm from problems and paid Biden $5 million while then Vice President Biden was in office. Federal prosecutors say Smirnov had been in contact with Burisma after Biden had left office when Biden did not have official influence.
A fire in Tennessee, the TBI investigating a hotel fire that happened in Mount Juliet today. It happened at the Quality Inn and Suites near Herschel Drive. Firefighters said it started on the south side of the building. All guests and staff had to evacuate. Crews are currently pulling ceiling to make sure the fire did not extend to other areas of the building. One firefighter suffered a minor hand injury, and we'll have more information on that as it comes right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Now over to some money news. Here's Daria Albinger.
The bulls are back in charge for the broadest of the indices. The S&P closed at a record high, up 29 points at 5,030. The Dow rose 349, and the Nasdaq added 47 for the session. Japan and the UK say their economies weakened during the final 3 months of 2023, and for both, it was the second straight quarter that's happened. That's in line with at least one definition of a recession. So far, the U.S. is defying the trend with the economy moving forward for the last 6 quarters. Retail sales fell 0.8% in January, though, as a lot of Americans turned to paying off seasonal credit card debt. You may scream for ice cream, but probably not chocolate chip. The International Dairy Foods Association, and yes, there really is such a thing, says the flavor, once a staple of the frozen dessert world, is no longer listed in the top 10 flavors, taking a backseat to things like cookie dough and salted caramel.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hey, here's a thing for you. Beacon Capital Management has created a free retirement savings calculator to help you make informed decisions for your retirement. It's fast and free, and it usually takes about 30 seconds from start to finish. You'll get your results immediately. To learn more about this, just go to askbeaconnow.com. And, you know, the folks at Beacon can really help you have peace of mind that you're on the right path to retirement. Beacon can provide that reassurance with a simple phone call, 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon will take it from there. You have nothing to lose in that assessment except for all the worry that you might have. So get started today by calling 615-488-9303. And at the end of the process, you'll be able to rest easy knowing you have a plan that meets all your retirement goals. Replace the worry with confidence that you're on the right path. The number again, 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon stand ready to take your stress away, and you can learn more at askbeaconnow.com. Well, my entire belief system has been torn asunder, but I'll try to go forward. I'm just going to assume that certain things that I think are true, and hope for the best, I guess. I don't know. Hey, listen, it's time for our 2024 update, which I'm pretty certain is really a real thing because I do it just about every day. I got numbers, not a lot of numbers. People say, well, don't give us too many numbers. I won't. But these are interesting numbers from the polling data. The Biden folks are very worried about Michigan, which has traditionally been, a more purple, I would say it's more blue than purple state, and Biden has done very well there in the past, but he's not doing too well there now. According to a new Fox News poll looking at how things are shaping up for Trump versus Biden in Michigan, if the election were held today in Michigan, Trump would win by 2, but that's just a two-man race. That's Trump versus Biden. When you do the five-way race with, all the other candidates mixed in, it improves dramatically for Trump. Trump would win in a five-way race, which is probably what we're going to have, if not a six-way race or a seven-way race. Trump will win by 5. I mean, every time you look at more than 2 candidates, it tends to get better for Trump and worse for Biden. I can't think of any poll that I've seen where that is not true. In North Carolina, the 5-way for Trump, he will beat Biden by 9 if the election were held today. I thought that's pretty interesting. Just a couple of things. We often talk about the Real Clear Politics average of polls. The Hill, by the way, has their own average of polls. And they have right now in a race between Trump and Biden, Trump wins by 2. But if you add RFK into that mix, and of course he's in that mix, Trump wins by 4. So again, almost every time you add other candidates besides Trump or Biden in there, it hurts Biden and helps Trump. It's almost always that way. What is the number one issue on the minds of voters? Increasingly, it looks like it's the border. This is from the Washington Examiner, despite continued and growing inflation socking their wallets, more adults now cite the border crisis as the top reason they disapprove of President Joe Biden. More than his personal traits and flaws, such as his age and befuddlement, a just-released Gallup poll said adults disapprove of Biden over critical topics, and of those, immigration is the standout. Specific issue-related concerns account for the largest share of Biden critics' explanation for disapproving of his job performance. Immigration is the most top of mind at 19. The next highest is the handling of the economy, 9, followed by inflation, 5. Concerns about Biden's mishandling of the border crisis have been marching up the ladder of reasons that adults dislike the president. It reached a fever pitch this week when House Republicans orchestrated the impeachment of the president's border chief, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Some key Republicans have said they would like to impeach Biden for the crisis at the border wall as well. This comes from a Gallup survey, of course, the gold standard in these kind of polling issues. Gallup found that Biden currently has the lowest approval rating of any president at this stage in their first term, 41%. I talk about, the third, fourth, fifth candidates, all the people are going to be joining this thing before it's all over with. The question is about, the no labels candidacy, which has been mentioned, and Joe Manchin, Democrat of West Virginia, has been floated as a potential no labels candidate. Senator Joe Manchin is now floating who he might choose as his running mate. You ready? Mitt Romney, Republican of Utah, and former Senator Rob Portman of Ohio, 2 possible running mates in response to a question about his top choices for a hypothetical third-party ticket to the White House. In a conversation at the City Club of Cleveland, Manchin said he did not have any intention to run for office at this moment, but did not rule out the prospect entirely. So hypothetically, if I was picking my running mate, Really, who would I ask right now is Mitt Romney, maybe Rob Portman. He would be right there, too. Rob's a dear friend of mine. What a good man. What a good man. Manchin, a self-described conservative Democrat, has bucked the party on several occasions in recent years and has been critical of both political parties and their leaders. He announced he would not seek re-election to the Senate this year, following a sharp drop in his approval rating in the state of West Virginia, but it has sparked speculation about a possible third-party run from the White House. Manchin, if he were to get in there, he says it'd be him and Romney. Okay. Putin says that Biden presidency is the one he wants. In other words, it seems that Joe Biden got an endorsement from Vladimir Putin. I bet he loves that. CNN, a Joe Biden presidency would be better for Russia than Donald Trump, one Russian president. Russian President Vladimir Putin told pro-Kremlin journalist Pavel Zarubin in an on-camera interview on Wednesday. Asked about the upcoming U.S. presidential election, Putin said Biden would be better for Russia because he is a more experienced person. He's predictable. He is a politician of an old formation. However, he said Russia would work with any leader of the U.S. that gains the trust of the American people, even though we are contemplating putting space nukes in orbit. No, he didn't say that. The Russian president did little to conceal his dislike of Democrat presidential nominee Hillary Clinton back in the day. Russia, already interference in our election. Nobody cares what Putin thinks, but it's not the kind of endorsement that you would really like to have if you're Joe Biden. Can you imagine? Joe Biden, the choice of Vladimir Putin to become the next president of the United States. Second term. All right. This is true now. This is something we need to think about. It is election related. Because how do we choose presidents? It's not the popular vote. It has to do with the Electoral College vote. And by the way, those Michigan numbers are interesting because that's a battleground state, and that's important in your journey to get 270 electoral votes. But immigration could have a major impact on the number of House seats, some Electoral College experts have said. Immigration experts are raising the alarm about how the increasing flow of migrants illegally crossing into the U.S. may significantly impact states' representation in the House of Representatives and in the Electoral College. Shortly after taking office in January 21, President Biden signed an executive order requiring that the U.S. Census Bureau factor in all residents, including non-citizens, as part of the decennial calculation of the U.S. population. As a result, the apportionment of House seats and therefore electoral votes for presidential elections could be swayed as migrants continue to pour over the southern border. Illegal immigration has all kinds of effects, and among them is that it distorts the mechanics of democratic government, says Mark Krikorian, the executive director of the Center for Immigration Studies. Illegal immigrants aren't even supposed to be here, so their inclusion in the census count for purposes of apportionment really is outrageous. He's right. There are a lot of close votes in Congress, more than there used to be, so it can, in fact, make a difference. It shouldn't be a question of, does this give you personally more influence in Washington? The question should be, is it right? Is it healthy for our democratic process to be distorted this way? And the answer is no. This in FoxNews.com. I agree with this 100%. Overall, according to the Federation of American Immigration Reform, FAIR, there are an estimated, this number is just, it's unbelievable, 16.8 million illegal immigrants living in the United States as of 2023. Because every House seat represents 761,168 residents on average, the total number of illegal immigrants account for roughly 22 seats in the House. Wow. And the most recent census, which was conducted in 2020, reduced the number of House seats apportioned to New York from 27 to 26. The state, according to the Census Bureau, would have needed just 89 more residents to maintain its previous apportionment, a calculation that highlights how fragile House seat levels are. In addition, electoral votes for presidential elections are distributed to states based on how many representatives they have in Congress. Therefore, a state with a large number of House seats has greater influence during presidential elections with every 4 years. It doesn't get enough attention, and with millions coming in right now, it deserves a bright, hot spotlight, says Laura Rios, who is the director of the Heritage Foundation Border Security and Immigration Center, talking to Fox News. I also think about this, and it's something to consider. I understand why Governor Greg Abbott has done it by putting people at the border in buses and shipping them to New York City and Chicago and Los Angeles and Denver and other, so-called sanctuary cities. He was trying to draw attention to the fact of the plight on the border. And it was effective because it really changed the whole nature of our conversation when cities like New York City and Chicago and others started complaining about what was happening. And it got their attention in a way it had not before. And I appreciate that, but I wonder if we're not doing ourselves more harm by sending people to these places, because you could potentially change the apportionment in the House of Representatives when they do the census, because we're sending people, adding people to the population of blue cities and blue states. California, Illinois, New York, and others. I mean, is it wise for us to continue to do that? Now, I will say that the vast majority of the illegal immigrants, say, for example, that went to New York, did not come on a bus that was chartered by the state of Texas. Only about 10% did. But still, I wonder whether or not it makes sense for us to continue that process. I mean, the other thing is, where do you send them? How do you solve the problem? The problem would be solved if they would just lock up the border and go back to the policies we had under Donald Trump. But that doesn't seem like it's likely to happen. So, I wonder whether or not, even though it was a great strategy to get people's attention, and it did very much get the attention of Americans who had not thought about immigration as a big issue, when they start showing up in your hometown, all of a sudden it becomes an issue, right? So that part of it worked. But at the end of the day, should we continue to do that is, I think, one of the questions we need to ask ourselves on our side of the equation. Again, there are no good answers to any of this. There are just a bunch of bad solutions until they get serious about shutting down that border the way it was before. 51 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Grace Point Healthcare delivers medicine affordably with menu-style transparent pricing, so you know how much it will cost before the care is delivered. Smart Care plans start at $69 a month, and for that you get unlimited office visits and free basic labs for the entire year. And because they treat the entire family, even newborns, you can get family plans as well. In conjunction with a high-deductible insurance plan, this could save you and your family hundreds of dollars. At Grace Point, they take their time with each patient. They see you the same or next day. There are no long wait times or crowded wait rooms, and they treat naturally whenever possible. It is also, and this is important, a military vet-owned practice. Just some of the reasons why it's been voted the best primary care provider by Toast of Music City year after year after year. Grace Point Healthcare on Main Street in Franklin. Call this number, 599-6868, to schedule a visit.
An update on that national security threat, a missing Meigs County Sheriff deputy, and an update on the shooting that happened just after the Chiefs Super Bowl parade that left one dead. Those stories and more at 5 o'clock. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, we got a new mayor, and he wants to do something about transportation. He wants to raise your taxes. He didn't say how much today, but he's got some ideas. I'd like to know what your ideas are about transportation. How would you fix the transportation problem in our area? Phone lines are open, 615-737-9986. 58 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk.
Five o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top story. 63 degrees on Music Row. Traffic and a complete weather forecast headed your way in 5 minutes. During the White House briefing today, White House National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby addressing concerns voiced by House Intelligence Committee Chairman Mike Turner of Ohio on what he called a major national security threat of Russian nuclear weapons in space. Here's Karen Travers bringing us the latest.
The White House is confirming that the warning from the chair of the House Intelligence Committee about a serious national security threat is related to an anti-satellite capability that Russia is developing. National Security spokesman John Kirby said this is not an active capability that has been deployed.
Though Russia's pursuit of this particular capability is troubling, there is no immediate threat to anyone's safety. We are not talking about a weapon that can be used to attack human beings or cause physical destruction here on Earth.
Right now in East Tennessee, a Meigs County Sheriff's Office deputy Robert R.J. Leonard still missing after arresting a woman last night. Right now, it's believed that Leonard took a woman into custody around 6 o'clock before crashing his car near the Blythe Ferry boat ramp. His car was found in the water, but his body was not inside of the vehicle. The body of what officials assumed to be the arrestee was found inside of the car. The last word dispatch says they heard from the deputy was water. The driver's side window was found open. Leonard had joined the Meigs County Sheriff's Office in December and was from New York. Kansas City Police Chief Stacey Graves today updating us on the shooting at the Chiefs celebration in the city that killed one person and injured more than 20 other people. Chief Graves saying the incident is believed to have been caused by a dispute between several people, which resulted in gunfire, and that 2 juvenile suspects have been detained. The chief saying several firearms were recovered and that the victims range in age from 8 to 47 years old, with half of the victims under the age of 16 years old. Here's Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas.
I don't think in any way that this is Kansas City. I do think that there's a gun violence challenge in this community and many others, and there certainly is a gun violence challenge as it relates to major events. That, however, does not mean that Kansas City will stop having major events. We will do all we can to make sure people are safe, and that's why I think you're seeing so many people at KCPD and the Kansas City Fire Department doing work to address that.
And 2 victims remain in the ICU in critical condition. Back here in Tennessee with a crime story, 19-year-old Nathan Lawal was arrested last night, and a stolen car was found with a large amount of drug paraphernalia. Lawal was first seen in the parked Nissan Sentra on Battle Road. He got the car during an alleged carjacking last week. Officers found marijuana, heroin, suspected cocaine, pills, digital scales, a key fob programmer, along with 7 key fobs in the vehicle. He's now in jail on a $231,000 bond. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Good afternoon, everybody. 7 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock as we begin hour number 3 of the drive on this 15th day of February. I hope you're getting a nice drive home. Hope the traffic isn't too bad. Hey, but don't worry. If the traffic is bad, the Mayor O'Connell's got a plan. Now, we don't know what it's going to cost, and we don't know exactly what it is, but he made an announcement today that he wants to do another traffic referendum for people in Davidson County. And they would have to decide whether or not they want to go, and they'll make that decision when they go to the polls on November 5th. They'll be asked, okay, do you want to spend this kind of money to get this kind of transit improvement in Davidson County? Listen, the phone lines are open at 615-737-9986. What I'm really curious about is, are you willing to raise your taxes to improve the traffic situation? And what do you think the improvements should be? What's the way that you fix it? Remember, we're just talking about Davidson County here, but there are many people who live outside of Davidson County who have a say in this because they work in Davidson County. They earn their livings there. They go there for recreation. They go there for fun. They go out to go dinner. They go downtown for dinner. Whatever it is, a lot of people have an interest in what Nashville decides, so it's fair game. What do you think the answers are? Now, today, all we really got was from Freddie O'Connell, the mayor, is that, well, you know what? We're going to put this on the ballot, and we want to improve transportation, and, got some loose ideas here. Nothing firm, really. I don't know how we're going to pay for it just yet. Don't know what it's going to cost, but we'll get that all figured out before we get to the November election. Here is about 1 minute and 30 seconds of Freddie O'Connell talking earlier this morning.
I can tell you, if we build it, people will ride. The program will give us a transit system that runs 24/7, 365, because we know that Nashvillians don't just work 9 to 5. It'll let us invest in more community transit centers that connect to each other, so people thinking about using the bus don't have to go downtown just to get to some other part of the city. This program will also help with traffic, and I don't mean that we think just having more bus service will make traffic go away. I mean we'll start upgrading our traffic signals so they know where the traffic is. We will have a traffic management center that is dynamic and responds to actual patterns that people are moving around the city using. We need traffic signals that keep traffic moving instead of keeping us stuck at red lights when no other cars are coming the other way. This will be great for motorists, bus riders, and even pedestrians as we also improve intersections. This program is bigger than Davidson County. We know that. It impacts all of our neighbors. We're taking much more of a regional approach this time, and that includes working with our partners in surrounding cities and counties and at the state. When we don't manage our growth effectively, it affects other communities. We expect to create great new opportunities to partner with the region. We're a big city, and it's time to act like one. According to Think Tennessee, of the top 50 cities in the United States, only 4 don't have some form of dedicated funding for transportation and infrastructure. 2 of those 4 are in Tennessee, including Nashville.
All right, so there it is. It's sort of the loose outline. He had a lot of talk in there, during this. I'm just giving you a minute 30, but then went longer than that. And he talked about the need for more sidewalks. And he's very interested in, he mentioned buses there. Some people have suggested that the plan might have light rail on some level. Well, this sounds a little bit like what we had in 2017, was it? I guess it was 2018. I guess it was the Let's Move Nashville. That's right. It was in 2018, I believe it was. They had a plan called Let's Move Nashville. This was the brainchild of former Mayor Megan Barry, and it went down in flames. It went down in flames in a big way. If you want to know what the vote was, they rejected the measure 64% to 36%. 64% were against it, 36% were for it. So roughly 2/3 of the voters who voted in 2018 were against the idea and it went nowhere. I mean, that was there was talk there about, improving bus service. There was talk about light rail, and for some reason that is beyond our understanding, they even thought about a tunnel under Nashville, which many people thought was not practical. I was just coming in about that time to Nashville, but I remember, that it was immensely controversial. But, a new mayor comes in, he wants to try to do something, and I think we all agree that transportation issues are a problem, but I'm not sure that Nashville alone can solve them. I think it's more of a regional problem. I was glad to hear him say he understands that it's a regional problem, but he can really, do nothing that goes beyond the regional unless he works with other jurisdictions. So are you ready for this, and are you ready to pay more for it? Because this will have to come out of existing taxes. Now, let's see, I've got a list here of where it came from last time, and it was rejected. In 2018, Let's Move Nashville plan would have increased Nashville's sales tax, hotel tax, business and excise tax, car rental tax, and the idea was to get about $5.4 billion. What we heard today from the mayor was some loose ideas, some kind of traffic management system, more than just buses. It's got to be just much more than adding some more bus routes. But he did not give us the details on how he would pay for it, but it's going to be an increase in some taxes, including potentially an increase in the sales tax. What do you want to see happen? What's the solution for you? How do you feel about what you've heard so far? Let's go to the phone lines now. Nathan, what's your idea? Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, Brian, I think you hit it on the head there with it's a collaborative effort. I think that if we took out the HOV lanes and put like a tollable speed lane like they have in Atlanta, that would help us out a lot, but it's going to have to be everybody involved, like Murfreesboro, Franklin, Clarksville. It's going to have to be a unified effort of the greater Nashville area. Happy birthday, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you much. I think you're right, which makes me wonder, can you do some things incrementally inside Nashville that might improve the situation? Yeah, probably. I like this idea of a traffic management center where you have computers that are controlling the lights in a more sophisticated way than just putting them on timers. I think there's a way that could really help traffic move around the city. But the transportation problems, it seems to me, that we have are beyond the center of Nashville. They extend across the whole region. And it seems to me that what needs to happen is a statewide approach. Now, we do have some statewide things going on, with these so-called hot lanes and these lanes that you would pay to get into that would allow you to bypass traffic if you wanted to pay a little extra. And by the way, if you don't want to, you don't have to. That will help a little bit, but it is a regional problem in that the real struggle in transportation in the region is getting from places like, Franklin and from Murfreesboro. Oh, man, talk about Murfreesboro. The traffic there is unbelievable. Traffic is a problem, but it's not specifically just a Davidson County problem. It's a part of the problem. I think it does have to be more regional. I think it really does. And I'm hoping that, that we can somehow get some conversations going that will fix that. Now, when you start talking about bus lanes, I'm telling you, I think that's a bad idea. Unless you're going to build specific lanes that are just for the buses. Otherwise, what normally happens is you take lanes away from other traffic and make them dedicated bus lanes. And I think that's something probably you don't want to get into. Jordan's on the line next. Jordan, what do you think? What's your thought about all this?
I don't actually live in Nashville, but I think one of the biggest problems is there's a lot of traffic, which includes myself at times, simply trying to get to the other side. Yep. But we're forced to go downtown where the interstates go. I think there needs to be a way to separate the traffic that has no desire to go into Nashville but simply get through it.
Yep,
I don't know if that would involve another type of interstate going through there where, maybe you can't get off of it in Nashville and therefore you won't get onto it unless you're trying to get to the other side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think you may be right. Look, and a lot of people, if you have so much through traffic that has to go through Nashville, that could find another way around, that would take a lot of that traffic out of the mix. Certainly would help people who are on the interstates every day, wouldn't it? Absolutely. I think you're right about that. That, however, is not a Davidson County solution. He's talking about sidewalks and and more buses and maybe a light rail to the airport. And we're not exactly sure. Now, look, I'm willing to give the mayor some rope here. Give him some time to take a look at it and come back to us with a thoughtful plan. But if it's what we've seen before, I'm probably not going to be in favor of it. I'm not sure that just throwing more buses and one little dedicated rail that runs out to the airport and back is the solution. What we've really heard today is, we want to spend some money and have a dedicated fund for transportation. And how we're going to fix things, well, it's a little unclear right now. We've got to put some some thinking into that. But get ready, because when it comes to November 5th, you're going to be asked to make a decision about that. Louis in Millersville, you're up next on the drive. What do you say, Louis?
Hey, Brian, happy birthday, brother.
Thank you.
I just wanted to mention, being in the trucking business for 40 years in Nashville, I see a lot of our problem in Metro Davidson County is 65, 24, and 40 all come straight through Nashville with every truck driver traveling all over the east and west coast coming through. The northern corridor of 840 has been on hold now for 30-some years. If they were to fix that and get the trucking traffic out, they could stop the bleeding with all of the stuff in Nashville that's completely congesting the highways. I think the mayor's on to something with the traffic lights. I get tired of setting the traffic lights by myself and nobody coming up and down either way. I go ahead and run them. I'm not going to sit for 5 minutes when nobody's coming in either direction, and I can pull into a twice daily gas station right beside me and come out of their parking lot and move and not be illegal. I mean, that's just ludicrous bullcrap. So I would like to see Marshall Blackburn and a bunch of others take all their means and ways to produce to the federal government to help fund this monies in Tennessee.
Right.
And let's get that 840 corridor finished up north. And trust me, it'll take a lot of bleeding out.
Listen, I think you're right.
Band-Aid over half a cut.
I think you're right. But again, that's not a Davidson County solution, is it? It's a regional solution. I mean, really, honestly, where is our state legislature on this matter? Other than, doing the hot lanes, which I think is a good thing. I'm not knocking that at all. I think it will help. But I really think, what we need perhaps is, we need some more roads, quite frankly, in strategic areas that could take a lot of the load out of the downtown area. There's probably nothing that would be more productive than giving the through traffic away around Nashville. They don't want to come downtown, most of them. They want to go around. They're on a timetable. They got to get to where they're going, Listen, the phone lines are hot on this, and I want to get some more thoughts in here, so we'll take a quick break, come back to more. Stay where you are. We'll get to some more of your phone calls in just a moment. Nashville has a desire to do something about transportation. What do you think the solution is? More in just a moment, 20 minutes past the hour.
Fannie Willis taking the stand in the racketeering case involving former President Donald Trump. COVID data in Tennessee and EV prices, they're coming down. Those stories 30 minutes after the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, I got carried away talking about transportation, and I stepped all over Mac Morey's Wide World of Sports. We'll catch up in a minute, okay, Mac?
I'm ready.
Hold your thoughts, okay? We're talking about transportation, and let's go ahead, since we have people on the line. We're looking for answers to solve the problem, since the mayor is saying we got to have a plan. We need to spend some money on transportation to make things better. What are your ideas? Let's go to, is it Rat? Rat out on the road? Rat, you're up next on the drive. Hey.
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Good.
I've talked to you before, but I'm as a trailer trucker for over 40 years, I've been to several other states that, as far as it comes to trucks, you know how in Tennessee trucks are right 2 lanes only. Well, in other states, the through trucks move to the left.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of opens up the on-ramps and off-ramps because our acceleration is not as quick. We don't stop as quick. And
that seems common sense. And by the way, that's cheap, isn't it? Well, okay, there's an idea, but again,
it's cheap. And,
I don't think
it keeps the traffic moving better.
All right.
I've been out here for a long time, and of course, me being a trucker, I know the routine.
Yep.
There you go.
All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. We'll wrap it up with Chris in Hendersonville. Chris, you're up next on the drive. What do you say?
Hey, Brian, how you doing today, sir? Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Hey, so I just want to comment. An earlier caller had said something about converting the HOV to pay lanes, and that would somehow reduce the traffic. I actually think the opposite. I mean, I'm sitting on 65 North right now looking at an HOV lane that's full of people and, 1 people per car. If you take those cars off of that lane because it's now pay and put them in the regular lanes of traffic, it's only going to make it worse. I think something like reversible lanes that you see in a lot of the bigger cities where they have, 2 or 3 lanes in the middle and they're blocked off and they reverse the directions of them. So, during traffic, it goes to or during the morning rush hour, traffic moves towards the city and after it moves away from the city.
Right.
I think something like that would work, but we're talking more construction and widening the highway to accommodate those lanes.
Yeah.
But closing the HOV lane and moving those people into the regular traffic lane because they don't want to pay, I think that's just going to congest it worse. That's my opinion. I
think you've got an interesting idea there. Part of the problem of the conversation that we have here is that, what's happening here is this is a Davidson County approach. And the Davidson County approach, they're going to raise taxes. And so the question is, how do you make transportation more efficient in Davidson County for the money that you get? But what I'm hearing, and this is what happens every time we open up the phone on transportation issues, is that it is. And this is why I keep saying it's a regional issue. Davidson County can do some things in Davidson County. And Davidson County residents, I guess, can make a decision about whether they want to spend the money or not. But honestly, the bigger issues, it seems to me, are not just inside Davidson County. I mean, they're a part of it, but so is Wilson County, and so is Murray County, and all these other counties where people feed into the city. There's no easy answer. Look, I'll tell you where I'm at on it. I'll give the mayor a little more time to sort of work out exactly what he thinks the answers are. And it'll be a decision to be made by Davidson County. I mean, unless you live in Davidson County, you're not going to have a say. But it's a heavy lift, I'll give you that. Mayors want to do something. They want to have a program, they get the job and they feel like I need to do something that leaves my mark on the city. And I don't think anybody disagrees with the fact that transportation in Davidson County is a problem. The bigger problem is transportation regionally. And what I'm hearing from the people who've called in here today, and by the way, not one of the calls was from Davidson County. What I'm hearing is they're the ones who feel like they've got the problem, and it needs to be a larger approach to it from the state level, from the federal level. And while I think there are some good ideas to try to improve some of these bottlenecks on the interstates. And maybe what we need to do really is to go back to the drawing board and come up with a plan that would build us some roads. I think the best idea I heard today is complete the northern part of 840. I think a lot of people think that'd be a pretty good idea. All right, well, we tried, and we'll watch and see what the mayor comes up with. Again, I'm going to give him some room here. There are some things that are interesting that he's talking about. I guess today's announcement was more that we're going to put it on the ballot, and we're going to be looking for a dedicated source of revenue. I guess the next question to be answered is, well, what are you going to get for it, and how much is it going to cost? We'll watch and we'll report. It's 30 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
.5:30, I'm Mac Maury with your top story. 62 degrees right now in Nashville. Traffic report, weather forecast in 5 minutes. The Fulton County District Attorney took the stand at a hearing focused on the romantic relationship she had with one of the attorneys she hired to investigate former President Donald Trump. As a result of the relationship, one of Trump's co-defendants is trying to get Willis tossed from the racketeering case. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
Pressed about whether she benefited financially from her relationship with an attorney she'd hired, the district attorney was adamant she paid her fair share of their travel in cash.
At all times, there's going to be cash in my house.
Both Fonnie Willis and Nathan Wade testified their romantic relationship began after he started working for her on the Trump case. But a former friend and employee says she saw them as a couple in 2019. Willis explained how it all ended last summer.
As he told me one time, the only thing a woman can do for him is make him a sandwich.
Right now in Tennessee, new data from the CDC says that Tennessee has the 6th highest rate of long COVID in the nation. Overall, 6.9% of adults reported experiencing long COVID symptoms in 2022. That data wasn't the same for each state. Tennessee, 8.9%. West Virginia was the highest in the U.S. with a 10.6% rate of long COVID cases. Electric vehicles on average cost thousands of dollars more than their gas counterparts, but as Mike Dubusky reports, some of those prices coming down.
The Air is now cheaper. Electric vehicle manufacturer Lucid says it's cutting the price of its sedan, the Air, by more than $8,000 in some cases. Roberto Baldwin is the sustainability editor for SAE International. He says Lucid's not alone. Tesla has been slashing prices recently as well amid slowing EV demand.
Because they've dropped prices and other automakers need to follow suit, which means they're making less money. So yes, they're selling more vehicles, hopefully, but they're making less money on those vehicles.
EV sales declined between December of 2023 and January of 2024 by 14%, according to market research from RoMotion. That's the latest news. Weather, traffic next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
You know, I'm going through this journey now to lose some weight with helps from the folks at Restoration Wellness Med Spa. They're in Lebanon. And it's true, yes, I did lose a lot of weight last year, but as I started to work through some medical issues, my appetite came back, and so did the weight. I don't want it to get out of control. The truth is, I've never taken on a weight loss client before, but I really like the way Carly and Jamie and the folks at Restoration Wellness Med Spa approach this. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. They took the time to really look at my history and my lifestyle, and we have customized a plan that best fits my particular needs. It is a customized treatment plan. Now, I'll be sharing how it's going in the days ahead. But why don't you do what I did and set up an appointment to develop your customized treatment plan at Restoration Wellness Med Spa? Be a part of the more than 1,000 patients who've already seen life-changing results. Now, whether your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your health in other ways, Restoration Wellness Med Spa has a solution for you. Take advantage of the newest ideas in weight loss. 615-470-8124. And you can set up your appointment by going to their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat.
That's right, it's time, belatedly, for Mac Morey's wide, wild world of sports. Now here is the host of your program. You know him, you love him, you can't live without him. The one, the only, the incomparable, Mac Morey.
Woohoo! Yeah, better late than never. It's okay. The crowd waited.
I know they're a very patient lot. They are
very dedicated.
I'm very sorry, Mac. You know,
no, it's okay.
I lost my mind for a moment. That's okay. You know,
we all do
old age again. I guess that's what it is. You know. So what's on tap today? What are we going to talk about?
So I've got two stories real quick. First, we'll start with MLB, just because there was an announcement today. Rob Manfred, the MLB commissioner, has said that he's going to retire in 2029. That'll be the end of his most recent 5-year contract. He just got an extension just a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said once that contract's up in 2029, that'll be the end for him. I believe this season will be his 10th year on the job. So come then, it'll be 15 years as commissioner of the MLB. So I know the overarching opinion on Rob Manfred, and it kind of goes along with every opinion of sports fans for every commissioner. They don't really like him. So
they don't like commissioners in general,
yeah,
right?
Commissioners aren't liked. So we'll see if Manfred, what he does in his last few years, and I'm sure the goals right now will probably be the same goals in 5 years for the MLB. Make it younger, make it quicker, and try and bring it back.
Well, then we've got an expansion that they're supposedly working on as well.
Exactly. Who knows? Yep, Nashville could be
Well,
onto a team.
Wouldn't that be great? I watched, for when I first went to Washington, and I guess it was '86. They were talking about, we're going to get a major league team. We're going to get the Senators, they left, and we want another major league team. And it took forever. Then they finally did, and they got the Nationals. Boy, I'm telling you what, it really, really sort of improved a whole section of town when they put in the new stadium. It's a fantastic stadium, and it really sort of boosted. So good things can happen with a real good major league team and a good stadium. So.
It's just a great outing for families and friends. It's just a perfect place to have. It'd be awesome to have one here. So I hope that happens, and maybe Manfred will get that done in his final 5 years. Maybe not. We'll see. Transitioning though to some Titans stuff. Other than watching my favorite team win the Super Bowl, my favorite part of the football season is the off season because we really get
that every time.
just got to slide
that works.
Slide that Lombardi in, but. Really, the Titans are looking at the 7th pick in this year's draft. So
okay,
and
that's coming up, right?
That's coming up here in April. So we got a couple months, but really, all the talks, the trade talks, who's going where, mock drafts, that all starts really right now. The Super Bowl's over. People got nothing else to do. They're going to be reading and writing way too much, and we'll galaxy brain ourselves in 2 months. A guy that we thought wouldn't go in the first round is going to be the number 1 overall pick in 2 weeks.
Right.
That's how we do this thing. Right now, that's kind of happening to Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy. He is now kind of being talked about as possibly a top 10 pick. Wow. This is a guy who didn't really have like a 300-yard passing game all season, wasn't relied upon. They ran the ball more than any other successful team.
Why are they so high on him then?
This is just kind of what happens. Scouts start talking about, well, he's actually a really good guy. You get personality involved. You get maybe a coach says one thing to one GM, and all of a sudden it's spread across. But yeah, they think
the national championship helps.
And winning a national championship helps. Even if you don't really do much, you just kind of manage the game. But he was there. He was on a great team. Right. So now all of a sudden he's looking like he could be a top 10 pick. And the Titans, they don't need a quarterback. That's okay. They've got Will Levis. They're really excited about him. They're going to build around him. He's the foundation for the future of this franchise right now. But there's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 picks. They're going to want a quarterback. The Titans could possibly use that as leverage and really gain some serious draft capital because a lot of teams may end up wanting this guy at J.J. McCarthy. Before J.J., there really wasn't a quarterback in that realm of 6 to 10 because they were going to take 2 quarterbacks, maybe 3 in the top 5, and then after that there was going to be a drop-off for the rest of the first round mainly. Now J.J. could really help the Titans out, funny enough, because it gives them some leverage for that 7th pick. If they want to drop to the 10th pick.
But there'll be a lot of people who scream and holler if you give up your 7th pick.
But if you just drop down to 10 and you gain an extra second-round pick and you still get the guy that you wanted, I mean, it could be a win-win. Right now, the Titans need to just garner assets, and to have someone coming up in the draft like that's just something I'm looking at. You got the Vikings, the Broncos, and Raiders at 11, 12, and 13. Those are 3 teams that are going to want a QB.
And we need O-line, right?
O-line and wide receiver. Those are the 2 main positions that people want in the first round. If it were me, I could see either way. This is a great tackle draft, though. You could get a great left tackle. You've already got the one good position on the O-line is left guard. Peter Skoronski out of Oregon this year that they drafted. If you got a left tackle, boom, your left side of the line is good. And there's 2 guys that the Titans could get from Penn State and from Notre Dame that could come in, plug and play, and be a good, solid left tackle from day one.
All right. Well, that's a great assessment. We'll start thinking about that. We'll talk about that endlessly, I'm sure.
Yes, we will.
All right. Now, because I shorted you in the other segment, I need to go on and talk about some other things. And, Mac, I'll let you get back to getting prepared for the 6 o'clock newscast. Because I know that when you do your 6 o'clock newscast,
greased lightning.
It's like, man, don't stand between him and the back door. I do have another story that's radio related, actually, and I don't know if you have heard this or not, but I think it's very interesting. It's about our industry, but I thought you would want to know this from the New York Post. George Soros is now poised to take a massive stake in the nation's second largest radio company, which owns more than 220 stations nationwide, according to court filings and sources close to the situation. The Soros Fund Management has bought up $400 million of debt in Odyssey, which is the number 2 U.S. radio broadcaster behind iHeartMedia. And its stations include, and there are some big ones, and a lot of them are news talk stations. And so then I'll tell you why I'm thinking about that, and I think you can already see what I'm getting to. Stations include New York's WFAN, 1010 Winds, as well as Los Angeles-based KROQ. One insider close to the situation, noting that he was a Republican, said he believed it was possible Soros was buying the stake to exert influence on public opinion in the months leading up to the 2024 presidential election. This is scary. Now, Odyssey, we are Cumulus. That's not us. So I just want you to know that. Sources told the Post that Soros' take is equal to about 40% of the company's debt, a massive chunk. It does not give him majority control, but he could yield effective control over the media giant. He could have a lot of sway when it emerges from bankruptcy. Soros scooped up the debt during the past few weeks at roughly 50 cents on the dollar. Odyssey confirmed that Soros' investment after reports of the deal surfaced. The decision by our existing and new debt holders to become equity holders in Odyssey represents a significant vote of confidence in our company and the future of radio and audio businesses. Soros Fund did not respond to a request for comment, and a spokesman for H.G. Vora declined to comment. A hearing to approve the Odyssey restructuring plan is now scheduled for February 20th before a judge in Houston, is a Houston bankruptcy court. Odyssey filed for bankruptcy on January 7th with $1.9 billion of debt. Under Odyssey's current Chapter 11 bankruptcy plan, existing shareholders are expected to be wiped out. High-ranking creditors would be repaid with stock in a restructured company. The proposal requires bankruptcy court approval. Last summer, a fund linked to Soros, according to the Post, joined a consortium of former lenders who paid $350 million for bankrupt Vice Media, an outlet that at its peak was once valued at $6 billion. A judge in Manhattan Federal Bankruptcy Court ruled that Soros Fund Management and Fortress Investment Group represented the best option to take the Brooklyn-based company out of Chapter 11. The fire sale marked the stunning demise of Vice, which was co-founded by larger-than-life media exec Shane Smith. So Soros investing heavily in talk radio. And well, I want to say that there are a lot of these stations that are that Odyssey owns that are music stations. There's no doubt about it. But what is important is not what the format is right now. It's what the format could be. And you can change formats at the drop of a hat. And so if you were to have a number of, let's say, I don't think it helps him to exert influence in states that are already blue. Well, what if he starts taking some of the stations he has in red states, and there are some. There's some here in Tennessee, and you start, turning it into left-leaning radio, and you start exerting your political influence, and you start changing, the kinds of things that people are hearing. People count on talk radio. Here in Nashville, I think they count on us to give it to you straight. And that's the wonderful thing I will say about working at Cumulus. I don't always agree with my upper management team, but you know what? They leave me alone. They let me do my thing. I never hear anything from them. And, other than filling out a certain number of forms and things like that from time to time, I come in every day, I do my show, and I get absolutely no guidance on where I need to go. Do you really believe that if George Soros owns a bunch of talk radio stations, that he's not going to try to exert his influence on it? So, I don't know. I don't know if there's any way to stop this now. But very soon, I think that the radio world and across the nation, talk radio may change when you're talking about a company that is the number 2 broadcaster behind iHeartMedia. iHeart number 1, they're number 2. I think we're number 3 at Cumulus, but we try harder. But I will tell you, editorial independence in talk radio is so important. And I can tell you, and I mean it sincerely, I have that. And Cumulus has granted talk radio a great deal of latitude to just do its thing. And I don't think that George Soros will grant talk radio that same latitude. So keep an eye on that, ladies and gentlemen. And notice if you are listening as you travel around the country. I know you're not listening to anybody but us when you're here, right? I mean, right? Okay, I thought so. But if you travel around the country, you may notice some changes happening. And I'm very concerned about this. We'll watch it, let you know how it goes. 50 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Well, imagine how you would feel if you or your loved ones had no pain. Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley can lead you to a pain-free life. For the month of February, the Wellness Institute of Nashville is offering life-changing, non-surgical spinal decompression at 50% off. This means payments may be as low as $30. So just call this number, 615-246-5009, to set up your consultation. Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley will review an advanced report of findings with you and review any previous MRIs you may have. They often find things others have missed. And they will help you decide on which of their new age technologies is the best fit for you. Besides the non-surgical spinal decompression, they have robot laser and knee decompression for those with knee ailments. And remember, it's 50% off non-surgical spinal decompression for new patients. That's cheaper than most of your insurance copays in many cases. So call Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley to set up your consultation today at 615-246-5009. I'm Brian Wilson, and the Wellness Institute of Nashville has my personal stamp of approval. Again, that number, 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com. Let me tell you about the folks over at Busy Bee. Busy Bee, when you need heat or cold AC, 615-775-7833. That's the number to call. They'll buzz right over to your hive and get you up and running. And I've had this experience where I had an emergency. I needed them quick, and they came. I needed a hot water heater. I woke up, no hot water heater, had a bunch of people come into the house. I said, you got to fix this for me. They had it fixed by noon. Brand new hot water heater. Listen, I've had great experiences with them, and I think you'll have great experiences with them as well. And you need to become a member of the Beehive Club. And for $99, it's where it starts. You get 3 thorough maintenance services on your systems, one aimed at heating, one aimed at cooling. I'm about to have my air conditioning check here in the next few days. One aimed at plumbing, no overtime charges 24/7, and 10% off all repairs. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling is your official Rude Pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Here's the number, 775-7833, online at busybhvac.com.
Six o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top story. 60 degrees, a mostly clear night in Nashville. Tracking possibilities for rain and even snow tomorrow. The biggest likelihood for that, southern Kentucky and the Plateau area. Traffic complete weather forecast coming up in 5 minutes. A federal grand jury in Los Angeles has charged an FBI informant accused of lying to the FBI about information he said he had about Hunter Biden's dealings with Ukraine from Burisma. Alex Stone.
43-year-old FBI informant Alexander Smirnov lied about Hunter Biden's dealings with Burisma, according to special counsel David Weiss. Smirnov appears to be the same person Republican lawmakers and politicians have called a highly credible FBI source and have used to claim Joe Biden is corrupt. The informant's claims have also been used in the impeachment inquiry into Biden, but now the FBI, federal prosecutors, and special counsel Weiss say that source is a liar.
Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis took the stand today at a hearing focused on the romantic relationship she had with one of the attorneys she hired to investigate former President Donald Trump. As a result of the relationship, which included vacations together, one of Trump's co-defendants is trying to get Willis tossed from the racketeering case. Olivia Rubin.
District Attorney Fannie Willis had not spoken publicly about these allegations for weeks since she first alluded to them back in January after they came out, and she had a lot to say, holding firm that the relationship with Nathan Wade started after he was appointed and that he never paid her way for the trip. She said she kept cash, that she paid him back, and that she didn't expect any man to ever pay for her way in a relationship.
A fire in Tennessee, the TBI investigating a hotel fire that happened in Mount Juliet today. Happened at the Quality Inn and Suites near Herschel Drive. Firefighters said it started on the south side of the building. All guests and staff were forced to evacuate. Crews were pulling out ceiling to make sure the fire didn't extend to any other areas of the building. One firefighter suffered a minor injury to the hand. And in sports, baseball season almost here. Changes are in the works for Major League Baseball's front office. Here's Michelle Franzen.
It's getting closer to opening day for Major League Baseball. Players reporting this week to spring training camps in Florida and Arizona. Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred announced Thursday at the spring training news conference he plans to retire after his current term. That will be in January 2029. Manfred has been at the helm since 2015 after Bud Selig stepped down. Manfred says he'll be 70 when he retires, but for now, he's focusing on this season. Opening day is March 28th.
And that's the latest news, traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
It is 6 minutes now past the hour at 6 o'clock on Super Talk. Brian Wilson in the chair. Hey, how you doing on this 15th day of February? You getting home okay? We got about an hour left before we hand it over to Mark Levin. We got a lot of ground to cover, so why don't we get right after it, shall we? This trial, I guess it's an evidentiary hearing that's taking place in Atlanta with Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade, the person that she was supposed to have had a romantic liaison with. I mean, here's the story. I mean, she hired this prosecutor to prosecute, even though he didn't have a lot of prosecutorial experience, to go in there and go after Donald Trump. And then it came to find out that, well, apparently they had a long-running relationship. And then there were allegations that as part of that relationship, she was spending money that she had authorized as payments to him for his work as a prosecutor to go on, pretty nice vacations to the Caribbean and other places, Napa, really, sweet vacations. And that was the allegation. And so, the question is, could they be disqualified, and could the case be thrown out because one of the prosecutors has been disqualified? That's sort of what's at stake here. Man, I'm telling you, it got interesting here. Now, I'm going to lay out some stuff for you, but hang in here for the payoff, all right? The part where you'll roll your eyes and go, really? They're making that claim? First of all, Fannie Willis did admit that she had a romantic relationship with this guy, Nathan Wade. And she said it was a romantic relationship. She didn't pull any punches on that. There is a difference of opinion in her mind as to when the relationship began. More on that in a moment. But here is a little bit of that testimony as they were trying to get to the basics of it.
So if you ask about a personal relationship, I consider myself to have a personal relationship right now, Mr. Wade. I consider myself to have a personal relationship with Anna Cross. I consider myself to have a personal relationship with Mr. Abadi. I consider myself to have a personal relationship with Andrew Evans.
Okay, let me just clarify that.
I have a personal relationship with him as we speak right now. I don't think that's what you're asking. I think that's what you're asking.
When did your romantic relationship with Mr. Wade end? Did it end?
Me and Mr. Wade, we are good friends. My respect for him has grown over these 7 weeks of attacks. We are very good friends. I think, but for these attacks, it would have been a friendship that, as life goes, you would have stopped having. I think that you have cemented that we'll be friends till the day we die.
Let's.
Could we just have an answer to the question?
I can handle Mr. Seda. Let's have it.
She asked about a personal relationship.
She asked when the romantic relationship ended. That's the question.
It's sometime in, I'd say late summer of 2023. So I don't believe me and, this is what you're really asking about. This is the salaciousness of all of this, right?
No, I'm just asking about your romantic relationship, when you stopped dating.
I think that me and Mr. Wade, so he's a man, he probably would say June or July. I would say we had a tough conversation in August.
A tough conversation in August. Well, it really wasn't so much about when it ended, but when it started. There was a woman who testified. At one point, she was apparently a friend of Willis's. Robin Yearty, a former Fulton County DA employee and self-described good friend of Willis, said Thursday she had no doubt Willis and Wade were in a romantic relationship starting in 2019 when she and Willis last spoke in 2022. This contradicts Willis's claim to the court that she and Wade had been professional associates and friends since 2019, and there was no personal relationship with her in November of 2021, which was the time of Wade's appointment. In other words, she said, yeah, we were friends, but we weren't friends, if you get what I'm saying, until after the appointment. That happened afterwards. But her friend testified that's not true. I know it's not true, and I have no doubt about that. And then there was about the money, because it's not only, when did the relationship begin? but did you receive any benefit? In other words, you paid this guy over a course of time $654,000, which he said didn't all come to him, by the way. But then you went on these elaborate vacations, and the records that we have here before us tend to suggest that he paid for all of the trips. So were you getting benefit from the money that you authorized being paid to him? And that's a really important question in all this. Fannie Willis says, well, I paid all that money back.
And I think that when you say things that way, I want this record to be abundantly clear that he calls his travel agent, he calls his cruise agent. They do whatever he tells them. He's like on a first name basis with these people. They do it, and then he tells me how much it is, and I give him the money back. I don't, just like you're asking me about the money with Robin, I don't do my friends like that. So if you tell me it's a G, then you're going to get $1,000. Whatever it is, I didn't ever make him produce receipts to me. Whatever he told me it was, I gave him the money back.
In other words, so they went on vacations. He said he told me how much I needed to pay him back, and I paid him back. All right. Let's explore that just a little bit. Both testified, according to Fox News' coverage of the events today, that Wade routinely paid for the trips, then Willis would reimburse him with cash. When repeatedly pressed about whether any records existed for her withdrawals of the funds, she said she was accustomed and taught by her father to keep 6 months of regular expenses of cash on hand. She had cash at home. She didn't have to go to the bank. Wade admitted that he did not have any deposit slips or receipts to support the claim that he received the money. You don't have a single solitary deposit slip to corroborate or support any of your allegations that you were paid by Ms. Willis in cash, do you? No, sir. Not a single one. No, not a one. The defense is, of course, trying to prove the existence and extent of any financial benefit that Willis got from Wade and their relationship, which is the crux of their argument that Willis should be disqualified. Wow. I mean, she says she paid him back. There's no doubt about it. And she says, I would just, if he said I owed her, if I'm owed a G, she would just give him $1,000, a G, a grand. It was feisty at times, really, really feisty. And at one point, the judge had to call a 5-minute recess because tempers had flared so much. When it came back, they said, y'all need to talk nicer to one another and not step on each other. And let's get this forward. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, what has happened here? A very close friend and someone who worked in the office said that their serious romantic relationship started in 2019. So that means that they were already in a romantic. She says she saw him kissing and hugging in the office in 2019. So if that's true, then the relationship began before she decided to make him a prosecutor and pay him $654,000 to prosecute Donald Trump when he didn't have the experience to do that. No real prosecutorial experience at all. And then, as far as, well, did she receive any benefit from the monies that she paid to him? There were vacations to the Caribbean. There were cruises. There were overnight stays. There was a trip to Napa. I mean, there was all these elaborate vacations that were taken. They took together. When she admits that they were in a relationship, and when it came time to even up the accounts, she says, "Yeah, I paid him back. If he said I owed him $1,000, I paid him $1,000." Oh, really? Well, where's the evidence that you took $1,000 out of your bank account? I didn't have to. I had it laying around the house. Chris, do you have $1,000 laying around the house?
Oh, doesn't everybody?
No, I just go down to
just
the ATM.
Huh?
I guess maybe I'm just I'm not as financially secure as she is apparently. But I mean, she says my dad said always got to keep money around, so they can't prove that she paid him back. So what's the judge going to do in a situation like that? It's and they're just insisting. I mean, it's two sides of it. Number one, you say, well, okay, is there any evidence she withdrew the money and paid him in cash? No. because she said she already had the cash on hand. Is there any evidence in the bank records that suggests she often took money out and then, didn't spend it? I don't know how you can prove that, but I mean, that's going to be her testimony. And then, the other side of it is if somebody hands you $1,000, I don't know about you, Chris, if somebody pays me $1,000, I don't keep $1,000 in my wallet.
I wouldn't even be able to fit $1,000 in a wallet.
Yeah, I know. I would take it and I would make a deposit, right? Am I wrong about this? I think most people would deposit that money. But she's saying no. He says, no, I don't have any records that suggest I deposited cash. And if we're talking here about thousands and thousands of dollars over a period of time that he apparently never deposited. Okay, where's the money now? Where did it go? A lot of questions here, but I mean, I think it sort of strains credulity, don't you think, to think that that this is as they say it is? First of all, they got a problem in that the relationship apparently started before she made the appointment. That seems pretty clear. That testimony is pretty solid today. The part about the money is going to be harder to prove, but I don't think it's him. I think anybody with a reasonable, experience in life knows you don't keep thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Most people don't keep that kind of money at their home. Maybe they need to run a little search out to the house to see how much money she's got in her home safe or stuffed under her mattress. She says she has 6 months' salary stuck at home. Well, let's see it. Where is it? Prove us. Prove that's true. I don't know. It was an interesting day, and there were all kinds of stuff going on, competing trials going on. Trump was having a trial of his own, where they're trying to decide whether or not he acted improperly in making certain payments. He had let me see, I can pull this up real quick. Here is Trump at trial today. Here's Trump today talking about why are they coming after me? Why is the DA coming after me here when really what he ought to be doing is focusing on crime in the city?
And they're doing things that nobody's ever seen before. So you have violent migrant crime, and they're after me for doing nothing wrong. I paid almost $300 million in taxes over the period of time. $300 million. And they say, oh, let's get Trump out. You have people that everything is politics in this city, including decisions and judges and everything else. It has to straighten out, and they have to focus on violent crime, not made-up crime. Thank you very much. We'll see you later.
And that's gonna resonate well in New York City, I would imagine, where they do have a lot of violent crime, and nobody is paying attention to it. Where they got all kinds of resources to go after Donald Trump on a very questionable charge. Well, listen, folks, it's trial-o-rama here for a while, but I don't think as far as Trump is concerned, any of the cases against him don't seem to matter on the political front. I think some of them are going to fall apart. Some of them may never actually come to trial, or certainly not in a timely fashion. And it doesn't matter because, people who support Donald Trump look at the trials and they say, it's not fair. These are trumped up, if you use the pun, trumped up charges, and they think it's prosecutorial abuse. So it doesn't hurt Donald Trump. In fact, you could make the argument that every time they bring a case against him, his numbers have gotten stronger, not weaker. 20 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. The chairman of the Federal Reserve has said that we're on an unsustainable fiscal path. We aren't going to be able to pay off the $34 trillion debt anytime soon. That's $34 trillion. Wow. They'll just print money to pay the interest on the debt and thus debase the U.S. dollar. That's why you might want to think about saving with gold and other precious metals. Now, I don't know about you. I've thought about adding gold and precious metals, and there was a time when I didn't have the knowledge I needed to make a smart decision. But then I met the folks at Nashville Gold and Coin, and I got professional guidance that I needed. This is the way it works. You make an appointment. and then you sit down one-on-one with my friends at Nashville Gold & Coin. They'll answer all your questions and help you make the precious metals investment that is right for you. It's friendly, you will learn a lot, and you will never be subjected to a high-pressure sales pitch. Gold and silver can be a safe haven in uncertain economic times, and my friends at Nashville Gold & Coin are standing by to answer all your questions about the precious metals market. To set up that one-on-one appointment, just go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. It is 25 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair. And I just want to take a moment to say a personal thank you to all the folks who have been so kind to me on this, my birthday. I never want to mention it, but woke up. Thank you very much. At least you played the right birthday song.
I give you a little bit of that good stuff.
Da, 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 da. In some places, they won't let you sing happy birthday when you go to a restaurant. That's why you go to some restaurants and they have these special birthday songs.
Really?
Because apparently they have to pay, a royalty to sing happy birthday.
Oh, yeah, it's not a public domain.
No, it's somehow they've kept that out of out of the public domain, and apparently, you go to that's why everybody has their own little special birthday song that they make up,
and they're all terrible generally.
Yeah. But the best ones are when they put a big sombrero on your head at the end of it,
and put some whipped cream on your nose.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Apparently, I don't know, but anyway, thank you. I mean, I woke up this morning and. First thing I do is I look to see, what kind of shape the world's in. I grab my glasses, I grab my phone, start looking, and the folks at the station had posted on the 99.7 WTN's website, happy birthday, send him some love. It's like almost 600 people have wished me a happy birthday.
Wow.
That's an awful lot of birthday love, ladies and gentlemen. And I want you to know how much it means to me. I appreciate that. I still love what I do. This is sort of an interesting year for me in that I really began broadcasting right out of high school. I was just barely 18, but I was still 18 years old when I got my third phone radio telephone operator's license with broadcast endorsement and began working in a radio station. And so I have now been in the broadcasting field an even 50 years.
Wow. That's quite an accomplishment.
And they said it wouldn't last. And I kept thinking, well, maybe you're right. There have been times where I wondered, but no. So it really is an interesting time in my life, and I still love what I'm doing. And I mentioned the other day that I have recently re-signed a new contract with the folks here at Cumulus, so I'm going to be here for a while. So again, thank you so much. Again, I can't tell you what it means to me for people to be so kind, and people who listen to this program and find merit with what we do. They're just the best listeners anywhere. And people in this Middle Tennessee area are so kind and so sweet. And it just means a lot to me. I feel like I wasn't born here in Tennessee, but I got here as quickly as I possibly could. And it has worked out well. I love this area, and I love the people who listen to this radio station. It means a lot to me that so many of you reached out. I tried to like every one of them, but I got tired after a while, and, I'm old, and so I couldn't complete the task. But let me assure you, I like all the comments I got today, except for some of the snarky ones from Matt Murphy.
There are always a few.
Yeah, a few, right. So, again, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And, head down, a nose to the grindstone. We still have work to do here. We got an election to cover. We got all kinds of political things happening, and I'm going to come in here every day loaded for bear. And, I'll take my my Prevagen, and hopefully everything will work out just fine.
You and Joe.
That's right. I think I'm a little bit better shape than he is right now, but he is older. All right, it's now, let's call it 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Here's some facts about engagement rings you need to know. There are like 10 premier bridal designers every woman knows about. They're like the Mercedes or the Louis Vuitton of the engagement ring world. Class, iconic, quality names like Tacori or Verragio. These designers are hard to get. Every jewelry store wants them, but very few make the cut. So they have to settle for lesser brands or knockoffs. Around here, there's only one jewelry store that offers these premium rings, and it's Genesis Diamonds. Genesis is the only one that made the cut that meets the highest standards. Genesis is the only store that's allowed to offer these exceptional brands that women really want. Other stores are jealous of this and will try to convince you that they are more expensive and try to get you to settle for something that's not the top of the line. But the truth is, Genesis has top quality designer rings for under $2,000. It's not the price. It's about the craftsmanship, the quality, the detail, the individuality. So don't compromise. Don't settle. Get her a world-class ring she'll be proud to wear. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills, and Cool Springs. Let's call it 37 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair for a few more minutes till we hand it over to Mark Levin at the top of the hour after the news, and he'll carry on for hours. When Joe Biden took to the podium in that late-night press conference, that he said it was his idea, by the way, to have that press conference, even though I'm sure staff did not want him to do it. And he went out there and it just made things completely worse. Following the report from this special counsel, Robert Hur, that raised questions about Biden's mental acuity. All right. And one of the things he was really angry about, he was palpably angry about it, was that in the report, Robert Hur had said something about that Biden couldn't remember the exactly when his son Beau died. Biden has often gotten facts about that wrong. He says he died in Iraq. He didn't die in Iraq. He died after serving in Iraq. He died back in the States, but he keeps saying everywhere he goes, my son died in Iraq. He didn't. But apparently during the I guess the interrogation, the questioning of Joe Biden about all of these things that they were trying to find out, he got really upset about that, and he talked about when Bo died. But contrary to what he said to the American people, the special counsel wants you to know that they didn't bring it up. So, he suggested that he was angry because they brought it up, and he says, no, wait, we didn't bring it up.
How in the hell dare he raise that? Frankly, when I was asked the question, I thought to myself, it wasn't any of their damn business.
But tonight, NBC News has learned that Hur never asked that question, according to two people familiar with the interview last fall. They say it was the president, not Hur or his team, who first introduced Beau Biden's death. The sources say the president got the date, May 30th, correct, but not the year.
So there you were. They never brought it up. He brought it up as sort of a crutch to try to remember when other things happened. Yeah, well, when it was that Beau died, and he couldn't remember the year. And so, fair to report that, but unfair for the president to say that they brought it up because they didn't bring it up. Oh, this whole thing with Hur, really, I wish they had brought charges because it's very clear. You hear a lot of people say, based on this Robert Hur report, where they decided not to bring charges because of the classified documents that Biden had squirreled away all over the place. You've heard a lot of people who will say, well, he's been vindicated. He didn't break any laws. That is not what the report said. The report said there's pretty good evidence that he did violate the law. It's just that they didn't think they could win a case. They said he's going to be an old, doddering man who comes across as having a bad memory, and we didn't think we could win. And I think that's probably true, because this case would have been tried inside the District of Columbia. A D.C. jury was not going to convict Joe Biden. And so they decided, why spend the money? I disagree with that. I think they should have at least tried. We had a right to see that tried out. We certainly are going to see, Donald Trump's classified case tried out, right? That case should be dismissed, by the way. But one way or the other. Now what is happening is that Congress, the Republican House of Representatives, is asking this special counsel, Robert Hur, to come and testify. Here we go. This is from the Daily Caller. Special counsel Robert Hur is reportedly seeking to testify in front of House Republicans over his investigation into President Biden's handling of classified documents, a GOP aide told Axios. Hur concluded his investigation into Biden's handling of classified documents, declining to pursue charges, as you know, against the president. In his report, Hur made several notes about the state of Biden's memory, even noting that the president appeared to forget when his term as vice president began and ended, and when his late son, Beau Biden, had died during an interview. The White House sought to dispel Hur's claims about Biden's memory. The special counsel is reportedly in final talks about testifying in front of House Republicans, a GOP aide has told Axios. The special counsel conducted a 5-hour interview with Biden on October 8th and 9th, which the White House noted was in the midst of the beginning of the Israeli-Hamas war. In his interview with our office, Mr. Biden's memory was worse. He did not remember when he was vice president, forgetting on the first day of his interview when his term ended. He asked him, when did I stop being vice president? Seemed like you'd know that. And forgetting on the second day of the interview when his term began. In 2009, am I still vice president then, he asked? How could you not know that? He did not remember even within several years when his son Beau died, and his memory appeared hazy when describing the Afghanistan debate that was once so important to him. Hur also noted that Biden presented himself to interviewers as an elderly man with a poor memory. So what they want is they want him to come testify. They have lots of questions like, why did you decide not to take these violations of the law and prosecute them? I mean, if what's good for the goose ought to be good for the gander, what's good for the Biden ought to be good for the Trump in this matter, it would seem to me. I don't know. He'll testify, and now the thing is they want the depositions. They want the things, the interviews. Were they taped? They want the tape. Were they just transcripts? They want the transcript, so that we can have a better understanding of the mental abilities of our president. which I think we all pretty much know what that is. It'll be interesting to see when Hur comes up on Capitol Hill and how that goes. It'll be an unmitigated dog and pony show where, the Republicans are asking questions, to try to get information. And the Democrats will be on full, try to rehabilitate that testimony every time they get a chance. So it'll be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I want to hear from him. I would like to know the logic behind making a decision not to bring a case when you had case after case after case after case of improperly handling classified documents. Documents that some of them were in his possession from the time that he was a senator. And he's been a senator forever. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable situation. The White House, by the way, has taken to doing something that is pretty unusual. The White House, this is from redstate.com. The White House not happy with the media's recent coverage of Joe Biden. CNN reported this week that a spokesperson for the White House counsel's office, Ian Sams, sent a letter to the White House Correspondents Association criticizing the legacy media's coverage of the special counsel Robert Hur's report of Joe Biden's handling of classified materials. The report, which was made publicly available last week, concluded that Biden had likely committed a crime in his handling of classified materials, but that his age, memory, and declining health meant that a prosecution would not be in the public interest. In his letter to the WHCA, the White House Correspondents Association, Sam said that covering the report is challenging due to its length and intricacy. However, the letter criticizes Hur over his wrong and inappropriate personal comments, then said they have distracted from due attention to the substance. I don't think the substance was lost. The White House has also argued privately with reporters over the tone of their coverage, but had limited success. It's unusual for the White House to address the White House Correspondents Association. What is the White House Correspondents Association? They are the liaison. It's an elected position. The main purpose of the White House Correspondents Association is to adjudicate questions about who is a journalist and who is not a journalist. In other words, you have to have credentials and you have to get your approval from the White House Correspondents Association. There's a whole rigmarole. I could spend an hour telling you about that because I was intricately involved in it from another standpoint for years and years. But that's their main role. The second main role is to have the big White House Correspondents' Dinner where everybody shows up with movie stars. But it is really rare for the White House to go through that agency to try to have an impact on how stories are covered. Really over the line, if you ask me. Inappropriate on every level. But I think what happens is that, Biden gets behind the closed doors and he's railing. He's pounding the table. He's angry. I want you to do something. This is unfair. And so, they go out and do things they normally wouldn't do. They're going out there and making the case that, well, you got it all wrong, and filing the letters, which I can guarantee you, the White House Correspondents Association made copies, distributed and they all went in file 13. They went right in the trash can. Everybody said, are you kidding me? Kiss my you-know-what. It had absolutely zero impact. And I'll tell you, to their credit, and I don't often give the White House correspondents credit, they have been tough on this. They have asked really, really hard questions. You cannot cover up anymore that the man has lost his mind. You cannot cover up the fact that he's not at the best, is at the top of his game, because we can see it. And they know, the White House correspondents, you may disagree with them at times, and I certainly do. I disagree with the way things are covered all the time out of the White House, but they understand that the American people can see it, and you can't defend what they can see. In other words, since they can see it, you have to sort of go along with it and say, yeah, look, the guy's losing a step, and you have to ask the hard questions. And that's what's happening. They wouldn't do it if you couldn't see it, but since you can see it, they have to go along and report, the things that you can see. Does that make sense? I know that's a little confusing. They might otherwise, not report this stuff, but since it's evident to everyone, it's hard for them not to report it. There's other stories out there today. Comer, over at the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, has issued subpoenas Thursday for records on several credit cards linked to the Chinese state company CEFC, China Energy. And the whole thing here is we're subpoenaing several credit card companies. Through interviews and depositions we've conducted thus far, we've learned that there were several credit cards that were used by members of the Biden family, we believe for personal expenses, and we believe these credit cards were being paid for. In other words, when the credit cards came due, CEFC would pay them. You wonder how come we don't have a lot of document records of money going directly to the Biden family? They handed them credit cards that CEFC would just pay. So in the family finances of Hunter Biden and James Biden and maybe even the president, there's no evidence of this in their records because they weren't paying the bills. CEFC was paying the bills. So you go to the credit card companies and you get those accounts. It may be very eye-opening. That may be the way they were circumventing having been caught. And if they can prove that money went directly to Joe Biden through one of these credit cards, Katie barred the door, it is over. It is over. And House investigators are probing whether Joe Biden used bank accounts to take money from the grandkids. In other words, some of the money went to the grandkids. Did he then have a back door to take money from their accounts? That's something that's being investigated for sure. I mean, I'm telling you, I think that story is getting to critical mass, and it's going to be very interesting. Remember, James Biden's about to testify. Hunter Biden's about to testify. And then, you know, if you get some of these, you're learning a lot in the last few days with people like Bob Alinsky and Rob Walker now providing their depositions. You don't hear a lot about it day to day, but it seems to me that that story is getting red hot once again. 50 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk. You in the market for a pole barn? You need to talk to the Stoltzko brothers. They run Stoltzko, two guys you need to talk to. Exceptional quality, craftsmanship, and fair prices. They can build you a new pole barn to your specifications with your needs in mind. That is the Stoltzko difference. You can use pole barns for all kinds of things. It can function as a classic tool and work barn, a garage, or even a place to live. Flexibility is key. They combine the classic post-frame barn look with the reliability of modern materials and building techniques to give you a finished barn that will stand the test of time. They don't scrimp on quality. They don't cut corners. They believe their customers deserve only the best. I want you to do me a favor. Go to their website. Just humor me. Go to stoltzco.com. That's stoltzco.com, STOLTZCO, and take a look at some of the things they've done for other people. I think you're going to realize very quickly you need some of that at your house, right? 615-622-5992. Workmanship, quality workmanship, and great customer service is where it's affordable. 615-622-5992. Learn more at stoltzco.com. That's stoltzco.com.